Fair.
I know you guys are a couple.
I wish I could just observe, but I can't keep my mouth shut about it.
Push it off the cliff.
And then 7B, the graduation discussion.
No, just one second. There's a lot of opinions.
Because everybody, the move apparatus. Yeah. Which is actually illegal.
Oh, wait, no, it's 6 is almost
Graduation.
Right, but then before that, we're doing
8B, science fair.
Yeah, my son was actually born April 2020. So like right after we shut down and like.
Tell that right next to the
Hurt my scary.
Why can't we do that? I mean, why can't we do that? But they're gonna.
I was like on these like meetings.
I don't know.
Back at the meeting. But we never came back. So I stayed home.
Isn't there something less? Don't we allow them
Let
to
me stay
teach
home because I had to ended up having a nice home, but that's part of the problem. Because
what's Tuesday, the 14th?
Yes. So it's just all the administrators get to.
Okay, we're live on Facebook.
No, that's good.
all worked out.
Late.
Luckily.
Does that impact salary?
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to the January 14th, 2025 Southeastern Regional School Committee meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order. Guests can follow votes using the link at Southeastern Regional School Committee page or watch live on our Facebook page. We're also recording this meeting. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please join me in remembering admitted student Emmanuel Taylor and his family. Emmanuel passed away at the end of December due to a battle with cancer. He was not able to start school with the rest of his class in September, so please join me in a couple moments of silence. You may be seated. We have a full agenda this evening, and we'll try to move through it as efficiently as possible. There will be some changes just to be able to allow staff and teachers to be able to just join us at the beginning and then be dismissed for the rest of the evening, being mindful of their time. First up is our student representatives report, and Adriana.
Adriana is attending the National Honor Society event this evening, which is starting at the same time as this one. And that's also why our principal is not here. She's hoping to join us before the end of the meeting. So, Madam Chair, I would ask that we place Adriana's report on file.
Absolutely, and congratulations to Adriana and the rest of the students who are part of that. That's wonderful. Okay, next up, audiences and communications.
Great, so I did want to share with you, you have them in your package, 2 emails thanking our culinary instructor, Scott Tessier, and our students who went out and provided food to first responders in the town of Easton and also the town of Mansfield. And they were very appreciative and reached out to us to thank us and tell us how great our students are. So I shared those with you so that if you also want to reach out and congratulate Chef Tessier, who you know very well, and who supports the school committee and advisory committee, and he and the entire culinary team certainly support all of us in being welcoming and supportive of our communities. So thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, next up on the agenda is our presentation on attendance.
All right. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce Lloyd Lamar. Lloyd is a long-term employee of the district, and he has been serving as the MTSS coordinator. I believe it's your 3rd year as MTSS coordinator and attendance guru. So Lloyd is here this evening to talk to you a little bit about attendance and what we're seeing in terms of attendance at Southeastern. So Lloyd, I will advance your slides. It's a PDF, so if it gets a little wonky, just let me know.
Is it connected to the original president?
It's not. We'll go. Do you want me? All right, we can.
Could we connect to the original president? It's a little cleaner.
Let me see if I have the. Let me see if I can. If I
Yeah.
just do it through.
Yeah.
Here we go. I got it.
Having all those tabs open is helpful.
See? This time it worked out. Okay, so let's see how I do presentation mode. There we go. Start presentation. How's that? All right.
All right.
Okay.
So basically, just to briefly get into this. So my name again is Lloyd Lamar. I am the MTSS and also the attendance specialist here. What I'm looking to do is basically allow the school committee to take a look at how attendance is presented. So the beginning is the state looks at it from the macro lens. Because of what we do here at Southeastern and how we do things at Southeastern, we have to look at things in the micro. So when we look at things from the macro, chronic absentee is divided by a percentage. So if you have 18 or more days, you're considered chronically absent, or you have an issue with your attendance in school. So we go to the next slide. But the thing we have to consider when we look at it from the micro lens is that there are other things that impact our attendance. Truancy, illness, family challenges, homelessness, domestic violence, child care, elder care, religious holidays, social emotional challenges, death in the family, and vacation. I'm just gonna back up real quick. So when I say child care, elder care, what that means is sometimes our students stay home because mom has to go to work, because the child got sick, and sometimes it also means they're also staying home to take care of elderly grandparents or just other people in the family who have different challenges or so. And so when you look at things from the micro lens or from the district level, things are a little bit more nuanced. And so basically, my role is to know what those stories are and to be able to delineate through the information that I get and to make decisions that, one, serve our families, but then also protect our communities. Continue. So when we take a look at this again, macro versus micro, when we look at absences, the blue is just, oh, they have this many. But then when we understand why those absences occurred and then compare them either as excused or unexcused, and an excused absence, and I'm going to show you what that is moving forward, is that we notice how significantly those numbers drop. When you know what the story is, those numbers drop quite a bit. If we looked at it just at face value, then according to the state, there may be a problem. You're going to see as we go through this, it's not really an issue here at Southeastern. Continue. So the attendance protocol now, the attendance protocol we already have is very robust. The challenge has been, before this position was basically, let's say, reinstated, there were just things that kind of got left by the wayside. So my biggest function is to basically enforce the attendance policy that we already have in place. Later on, I hope to kind of tweak some of that so that some of the language is a little bit more clear and has a little bit more meaning to it. And that way, our families and community have an easier time understanding and navigating what that is. So basically, 3 days unexcused, there's no reason, there isn't a parent call, I make a call home. On top of that, we have automated where calls are going home every time a child is absent. 5 days with no excuse is going to trigger a home visit. So myself and the SRO of the school, we will go to someone's house to basically do a well visit. We do not enter that residence without permission. What we're looking for, myself, the SRO, or if I bring guidance or an adjustment counselor with me, we're looking for anything irregular, anything that would cause us concern, especially when it comes to the child. Typically, it's me sitting down, having a conversation, trying to get to the bottom of what is going on. with the family. I also understand that bringing a police officer to somebody's house can potentially bring some stress. Myself being a person of color, my let's say relationship with law enforcement it gives me a sensitivity as I'm walking into some of these situations. So moving from there, depending on what happens at that, I may file what we call a CRA, that's Child Requiring Assistance, and that's basically a document that goes to the courthouse and basically puts the family on notice, basically to ask them, all right, what's going on? Why isn't your child getting to school? From there, depending on the age of the child, CRA may just be me just documenting things showing that I went through all the steps. If the child is over 16 or 16 and a half, a lot of these CRAs are just going to get kicked back. But a lot of times I do that is I am wanting now, if it's a family issue, for the family to see that here, we're serious about your child coming to school. We are now taking those next steps. Many times when I file a CRA and it comes out that we come into court, all of a sudden we watch attendance magically and miraculously get better. And that's just us, going through the chain of command. 6 to 8 days, if nothing changes, like I said before, we do the CRA. 10 days, we send a letter explaining to the families that your child is going to be potentially unenrolled. Now, according to Massachusetts, once the child steps foot in the building after a long time out, before they get to the 15th day, the whole thing resets. And that is just kind of state policy that I have to follow. And then if a child is out for more than 15 days, and then they are unenrolled from our attendance. And then now, if a child is, let's say, decide to change things, the family decides to change things, we've created a policy here at Southeastern called attendance recovery, where a child gets to come after school and then basically buy back that time that they've lost, and allows them the opportunity to be promoted or graduate with the rest of their class. Next. All right, this is going to be very interesting because, so when we do a comparison of 2023 and 2024, next slide, when we start looking at these numbers, so when you look here down 2022, and then you go up to 2023, what we did was absolutely phenomenal. The growth when it comes to absenteeism was unreal. So when you look here, where we were 2022 with a 20% rate considered, chronically absent, but then you look at 2023, it drops to 13, right? The growth of the change that they were only looking for was 1.3, and we exceeded that significantly. Now, unfortunately, when you do real well, right, right, that's going to come back to bite you. Right? And in this case, that's exactly what it did. Now, on paper, because remember, we're not just looking at things from the macro, we're looking at them from the micro. When you go into last school year, so now our marker is 13. And they're expecting a target of 11.7. Now, that 1.3, because I'm a nerd, right? I went back and it is not consistent. I'm not exactly sure how they determine the adjustment, but it's a mystery to me, all right? So, and I went back about 10 years, and it isn't consistent anywhere in the data. But I'm not here to judge those who make this. I'm just here to help us understand. Now, when we take a look at that, there is a significant change. So if we're really looking at it, we went from 21.6 to 11.7. That is a significant jump. As a result of it, there were particular communities where we got targeted, I shouldn't say targeted, we got dinged as improvement below target. But if you go through these numbers, even with what I've highlighted, we're still moving in the positive. Right? Now, for us to make that big of a jump in a year, for us to then have a similar jump, could it have happened? Sure. But we're literally slicing things down to decimal points at this point. But we're still moving in the positive. Also, where I've highlighted, those tend to be our most marginalized groups when we're looking at our school. Our marginalized communities, marginalized groups, there's no surprise. Anytime there's a significant change, they're going to be the ones that pop up first. Any questions before I know it's a lot of nerd stuff. I'm so sorry. All right. Next. And yeah.
Keep going.
What's the next one? So the key trends that we see, keep moving Barbara around. The key trends that we see, the student enrollment is on the rise. Attendance has improved from 94% to 96.4%. Now, mind you, that's give or take. All right, but we're about 96% right now, and we're slowly on the rise. Student population continues to diversify. There is an increase as a result of our greater enrollment for special education students with high needs, and the Hispanic or Latinx or low income. Next. Let's see here. Another trend is that our attendance rates, we averaged that back in 2023, but like I said before, the absenteeism, we're noticing that is dropping from 22% to 13%, and that is in a very short amount of time. Now, I'd like to take credit for that. Okay, I'll take credit for that. No, but what we're seeing is that it's a culture that is being developed here at school. Right, and that honestly, that starts from the superintendent all the way down. We take attendance very seriously, and it is something that is spoken by our teachers, by our coaches, by everybody who runs in this school. So as a result, that is one of those songs, it's one of those monikers that constantly plays through as we do things. Next slide, please. Let's see here. Key initiatives implemented to boost engagement and attendance include regular attendance monitoring and incentives for consistent attendance. That is something I started. Basically, all right, if you had attendance of 95% or higher, you're getting a free popsicle. And for whatever reason, you give kids some sugar and things get better. All right, so, and what we're looking to do going into next year is to have these incentives defined ahead of time. That way the students know what they're playing for. Basically, we were trying to just get things going, right? And this is me figuring things out as we go. Next. When you compare us to the state, we're always going to exceed the state. So that's us in blue, the state is in red. And we have been significantly ahead of the state for years. And we're going to continue that trend. And we've already talked about the things that have an impact, but again, we're moving in the right direction. Oh, before we go on, if you notice there, I put in one of the things that has an impact on our attendance is the Brockton School calendar. There are times where we have they have a half day and we don't, that's going to impact our attendance. If they have a day off and we don't, that's going to impact our attendance. Coming off of holidays, depending on how things line up, if they go back to school after us or before us, it's going to have an impact on our attendance. And so, and we understand that that's just one of those things that's going to happen. And so, when days like that pop up, I'm just ready. Oh, we're going to be kind of low today, and here's why. And then weather is another challenge for our demographic as well. Continue. Now, I know it's a lot of numbers. This is my favorite slide. All right. And the reason it's my favorite slide is because when you take a look here, and this is posted as of information from yesterday. Okay, so this is where we are as close to real time as possible. When you look at all students, 96% of our students are coming to school regularly. It means that they do not have any more than 10 absences already for the year, right? Which is significant. And then when you look at students who have an unexcused absence of more than 9 days, it is below 1%. Right? That's the place where we are. And then when you go look at all the subgroups, you still realize that we have a range of anywhere from 96% to almost 95%, which is phenomenal. What this data shows is that our students aren't just coming to school, they want to come to school. And again, I'm going to blame our amazing teachers and staff, for that reason. We have created a community where they want to be here. Next slide, please. This is perfect attendance. And I think, of course, the seniors is going to be the lowest one. Historically, the seniors are the lowest ones. But when we take a look at our freshmen here, we have a freshman class of over about 400. We have almost 200 students that still almost have perfect attendance. And I think that's significant. That's after vacations, that's after breaks, that's after the Brockton calendar, things like that. We still have students. And then when we look at the sophomores, they're not that far off, which I still think is very important. And then even our 11th graders, we're still talking about over 25% of that group having perfect attendance. And again, that is just something that we see as a result of what we're doing here. Next slide, please. So key areas of improvement, we want to focus on our attendance percentages. Now, even though they're great, we're still always looking to get better. Like in my mind, my magic goal is one day I want to hit 98%. Like as an average. I know that's crazy, but yeah, but that's the goal.
Can we house all those kids?
So we look at tardiness statistics. Now, one of the other things I've realized, especially when it comes to attendance, and this is the other part of the job, and eventually this is what I would like, what I do to truly grow into, is that when you meet the felt needs of people in your community, that's typically what's keeping our students from coming to school. I live in these communities, and so I understand the pride that many of them have as in their culture, and many of them want to work. They want to be here. They want to be about it. They want to come to school to better themselves. And so one of the things that I'm looking to develop, and I've gotten a lot of support from our administration here, is to find ways for our communities to understand how to, one, report an absence, but then also how to report when they're having difficulties, so that we can find ways of helping them meet those felt needs. When those needs are met, then we see attendance change. And do I have time just to tell them a story?
Of course you do.
All right. So there's a young lady, and one of the reasons it's important for me to know what the stories are, it helps me to help them navigate. So we had a young lady last year in July. She lost her mother. Now, she's 16 years old. She has an infant sibling. She was coming absent. She was missing days to school or even being tardy. And the reason is, Dad has to work at night because someone has to be home to watch the baby. So the times where he wasn't able to work, then she'd just be in school on time, and he was watching the baby. Now the challenge the father was going through, the father was told, hey, we can provide childcare for you. You just got to show that you have a job. And the father responds, how am I going to get a job if I don't have childcare? These are the real things that our children are going through. And then just to talk about character, this same young lady, basically, there's a consequence for being tardy at the school. So I said, hey, I don't feel good about giving you a consequence or something like that. I understand your situation, and it's a big deal. She goes, Mr. Lamar, now this is the character who we're dealing with. She says, Mr. Lamar, if you don't give me a consequence, I may one day believe it's okay for me to stay home instead of coming to school. I need you to give me a consequence. Now, I can't stay after school, obviously, we've explained it, but I need you to find a way to give me a consequence. So on her behest, I created a consequence for her because she felt she needed that, all right? So that's the character of who we're actually dealing with. That's the character of our students. Now, on the flip, I've got some students who, they just walk in tardy all day, and they think it's not a big deal. I've explained to them that it is a big deal. And I've had students laugh and explain, last year, I came tardy all the time before you showed up, Mr. Lamar. I said, yeah, as a result of that, they hired someone like me, all right? All right, so here's what is said in the handbook, and I'm gonna explain it to you as gently as possible. After 24 absences at Southeastern, there's no longer, we no longer have to promote you. And then I'm just gonna leave that here, and I just walked out. Let's just say she showed up to attendance recovery and make sure she fixed her attendance so that she could be promoted the next year. The other part of that is, the kids start talking about that stuff. They start whispering, that man's crazy. He's expecting me to come to school on time, not to be tardy. And now I've got an attention. Yeah, you do, right? And so So those are the things that are going to help. We keep them accountable, but at the same time, we make sure we're thoughtful when it comes to the stories of hardship, and that's what we're going to move forward. All right, next slide. So areas of improvement, and this has been a big thing that has kind of helped us out a lot, but improving communication in primary language that are spoken at home, real-time translation, communication of vital resources, communication of attendance expectations and concerns in real time. Next slide. So our solutions that we've kind of put into place to deal with some of those things is that our translation service have become more robust. We've added additional translators, and we've hired a multilingual family engagement coordinator. Southeastern being more thoughtful and deliberate about communications going home. And the other thing that gives me some flexibility is we're trying to automate a lot of those things so that I don't have to trudge through basically 1,600 people every day. And that's when I first started this. That's exactly what I did every day. I trudged through 1,600 people every day checking attendance because there wasn't something automatic. And then later we got the lovely and talented Mr. Jeffrey Tavares, and he helps me out big time with a lot of this data stuff. Next slide. Hit it again.
Nope, all right.
Okay, so in conclusion, we're basically we're trying to get better, and so the whole idea is that we're realizing that we're moving in the right direction, and we want to continue to do so. Next slide. And we're trying to understand attendance trends, and then develop targeted interventions. And basically, the whole idea is to get ahead of the problem. Next one. And we're looking to establish mentorship programs, enhance communications with family, and improve and providing incentives for attendance, and additionally doing regular attendance monitoring that will help identify at-risk students. Next one. And then basically we want to then use the data to realize, to basically show the trend, and we already know what the answer is to this, but it's always good we can look at it. Look at academic achievement connected to attendance. And one of the ways we're looking to automate, I actually took that out, we kind of forgot about it, is we're beta testing this program called Dean's List, which allows us to basically send out a message to parents in their language. And what that has done, it has been amazing. So I don't have to learn Portuguese anymore. I just can type it in, it programs it for me, and it sends that out, not just an email, but also as a text. And that has been very significant to improving students' understanding that we're serious about this. All right. I believe that's the last one.
That is.
All right, Winnie. All right, any questions? Concerns, confessions?
I got a question, but
Yes.
first I want to thank you for this informative report. This is fantastic. So thank you for all the time you took to prepare that for us. I have a question about attendance recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how that could potentially work with the academic classes. How does that work for vocational?
So basically, I look at attendance as a whole.
Uh-huh.
So when you walk into school, and let's say you've hit that place where you've been absent for over 24 absences, now you have to enter into attendance recovery. The other thing that I've been working on is using this automation is basically to get a spreadsheet to our vocational supervisors to alert them of students who may need to be pulled off a co-op because they're having attendance issues. Because the other thing we're trying to explain to them is showing up on time is a valuable work skill. So when we look at attendance, we're looking at attendance when they're here, for the shops, and when they're here for their academics. So it isn't just one side or the other side.
Well, right, but I'm thinking in terms of trying to make up work, if you're out of your shop.
hours.
Yeah, so you're
Alright,
losing
so
your shop hours.
We're not making up work necessarily. They tend to have to figure that out between their shop teacher.
Okay.
What we're basically buying back is time.
Okay.
Right? So you missed X amount of time, here's how we're going to get that time back. So basically a student stays after school two times after school, which equals 3 hours, and that buys back a day.
But it's up to the student to be able to work out whatever the plan is to be able to catch up
Yeah,
if
whatever
they want
work
to.
they've missed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Related work.
Exactly. And so we also have gaps in the middle of the day refer to their related time
Yeah.
to basically catch up and things like that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
Oh, could you?
Yeah.
No, you can go first.
Just a really quick question. I wanted just to go back over to get an understanding. So the attendance specialist, which is you,
Yes.
and the SRO goes to the home. Why does the SRO go to the home?
So first of all, because if a student hasn't, so this is just kind of the direction I brought it in. If a student hasn't come to school for a certain amount of days, I have to now kind of put on my dad hat and be a little bit concerned. I bring the SRO now. There've been times when the SRO has come and has not entered the dwelling, depending on what the situation is. So I'm reading this in real time. So the SRO, and that's been part of the function. If there's something happening, I have two sets of eyes in the house to potentially see something that I may have missed. And it isn't to intimidate, it's just to have somebody, because that home visit also gets cataloged with the police.
Okay.
Just in case something else is happening, I've already kind of started moving steps in that direction.
I don't disagree with that analysis. Still am concerned about the SRO coming. We know that even with the work with DCF, police don't normally come. So I'm kind of wondering and just asking the question.
Yes?
Can we have another employee go with you? Is what I'm trying to get to. Can you train someone else to go with you versus an SRO?
Can I
This is
just
gonna be,
add to this, not to interrupt you, but
Yep.
the SRO is known to these students. That person's here all the time. I don't know if you would need to do that, because that, like, I understand that the parents don't know the
Yeah.
SRO, but the students are familiar with this person, and I would assume they're comfortable enough,
Well, I
right?
think it's more about the parents, though. If you have immigrant parents, let's say.
well, I was
and-
going there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go
so-
ahead.
No, so I've been in tons of meetings, especially with the Attorney General's office. So I just want to just get to where I need to get to. So law enforcement presenting at anyone's home in populations that are part of the migrant immigrant population may be concerning moving forward.
Right.
There is a heightened concern, especially now. I can tell you that we have data where people are not even showing up to immigration court or housing court.
Sure.
So my real question is that our reputation as an organization and how we are committed to the work with all of our communities, not sure to have a continued model with a law enforcement officer or a woman or male showing up to the house, even if they are known to the student. I'm not sure that's going to be a good practice.
So, so right now, it's the practice that we put in place, for one, for my protection, but also for the protection of the family we're walking into. Here's the other thing. Me actually doing a home visit, when we talk about 1,600 students, is a rare occurrence.
Good.
Right? And as it being a rare occurrence, there have been times where, in conversation with the SRO, I've even explained, I'm probably going to need you to sit outside.
Gotcha.
All right? So it's me basically feeling out that situation. If I have to show up to the house with a translator, it's probably me and the translator walking in.
Yeah.
So the SRO isn't like a carte blanche every single time,
Right.
but I basically ascertain what the situation is, and I make
I appreciate that.
I make a decision as I'm moving.
So you and I both know. I mean,
Oh, no. Oh,
so we
yeah.
look out. You know how we used to do. We look outside. And we see a cop, and we may see someone else.
Right.
We may see the social worker. We see the police.
Right.
We're closing curtains, turning off lights, and not answering phones. And you understand that. So I guess that. But hearing what you're saying in terms of your methodology on how you're going forward
Right.
makes sense.
No, so at the same time, I'm also looking to be sensitive
Right.
To who's in there, but ultimately, my concern is the child. The child
Right.
hasn't been to my school for 5 days. The child hasn't been to my school for 8 days. There's something else bigger happening. So a lot of times, that's just enough. Now, so for instance, if the door's closed, then I go back to school. I have a conversation with our adjustment counselor,
Yeah.
explain the situation. She files a 51A, or he files a 51A. Because the idea is, my job is to get that child in the school so that they can become a better person. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of the space.
Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted, I know Jess said you wanted to talk. I just wanted to piggyback on something that Tony said. So I totally appreciate everything you're saying, and I appreciate your sensitivity. I guess for me, when I think about how sensitive we are, and really trying to get to the root of why absenteeism is happening is a wonderful thing. And we want to really be able to establish trusting relationships with the parents and the families and the caretakers that are a part of our students' lives. But I always hesitate a little bit, because as soon as the SRO makes themselves known, and that person doesn't have to be outside, or inside, but it almost erodes that trust that you've spent so much time to build. And I just worry, and I'm not saying this like there has to be a solution, but it's trying to figure out what that balance is, that you are making sure that we are prioritizing the students' health and well-being, but at the same time making sure that we're also not isolating the parents and the caregivers to feel like I can't rely on the school for any support around our family issues right now.
So I think that's one of the things we basically worked as a school to develop, and that's why I make that phone call first. And that's why the home visit is a rare thing, because typically a parent calls me back, hey, sorry, didn't call in, and then it kind of resets the entire thing. And I do understand that sensitivity, but the other thing we're looking to do, and the reason we do have an SRO, is to help build and foster a relationship where law enforcement isn't always the bad guy. Now again, someone of color, right? I don't have a great relationship, let's say, with law enforcement, but at the same time, when we see someone like Officer Hicks, who I trust, and she is a person of character and integrity, I want everybody else who's around to also get that opportunity. And so, so I think we would be eroding if it was just, 3 days, boom, we just show up with the SRO. Yeah, I would agree with you. But the instances are so infrequent, and many times the president of the SRO, not as someone looking to cause any problem, but we're just trying to get answers. And again, like I said before, it is an issue of discretion, and I am the holder of the stories. I understand, and unfortunately, I wade through a lot of darkness throughout the day. A little bit more than I was emotionally prepared for, and so between me and my therapist, we worked that through. You're good. You are so good. But ultimately, I'm always going to dial in. I'm going to go kid first, or I'm going to go family first, and if something's wrong, then we're looking to meet those needs. Yes, dear.
I do. So I'm guessing in that initial call that you make after day 3, you're like, hey, if you were not here, we're going to have to come by, and I'm going to bring Officer Hicks or somebody with me. So they have,
there's a little bit of warning.
so they have full knowledge that you're showing up with the student resource officer.
I was gonna say, this is 5 days of no call, no
Right,
show.
like
This is 5 days of we haven't seen this child and we don't know if they're okay.
Right, and
So like we are
multiple
trying.
And like safety and
Right,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
literally where is.
So if we go back to the actual scaffolding of how things work, day 1, call from school, robocall.
Right.
2, robocall. 3, robocall, me call.
And a personal
Right?
call.
Then it's a robocall. Then it's again day 5. It's me calling, hey, what's going on? I'm probably gonna come through.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, after all of that, and then on top of that, their emails have gone out, there've been notifications sent to your, there's been enough notification at that point where someone's gonna say something, someone's gonna, oh, by the way, now, many times it'd be like, oh, we're on vacation, you didn't call the school, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There have been times where I have shown up in a well visit, or just before I went on a well visit, got a call, oh, they're on vacation. So you told your shop teacher, but didn't tell anybody, okay. All right, Officer Hicks, we'll just do one student today instead of, going on to the whole bit.
So Jess, I know you wanted to say
Yeah,
something.
I had a comment and a question. Just because this is the first time I'm like learning about the process and whatever, my knee-jerk reaction was sending the SRO there. Like someone just said, there's been no communication for 5 days. Like, what are you walking into? I'm thinking emergency. I'm thinking someone is not well. I'm thinking like you're gonna need backup of first responder level. That was just my knee jerk. And then my question is, when the SRO goes, are they showing up like full police uniform and a cruiser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I go with them in the cruiser, in the front seat, ladies and gentlemen.
That was good.
Out first.
And so, yeah. And again, we show up, there are no signs blaring, there's none of that, we're just showing up, And typically, I'm the one who does the talking. The SRO isn't ahead of me. She's literally on my hip, right? Hello, I'm Mr. Lamar. I'm the attendance specialist at Southeastern. We're here in concern of da 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 da. We just like to know what's going on and how can we assist. That's usually the conversation. Is it all right if we come in? Oh yeah, sure. You know, and usually, hopefully, you know, I leave with a very hot and delicious meal. But that hasn't happened.
Madam Chair.
Yep, so I think Jen, you were next, and then Andy? Oh, no, you didn't have any? Oh, it was Robin, sorry. And then
Oh,
you,
please,
Andy,
no.
sorry.
No.
I'm trying to get them in order. Go ahead, Robin.
A couple of things. You say sometimes the SRO remains in the car. There are times that you have to enter alone.
No. So if I feel that I'm going to enter into that dwelling, there's 3 people going to that house.
Good.
So it's probably going to be me, a guidance counselor, and the SRO.
Is the guidance counselor in the back seat of the police car?
Absolutely. No. They're going to drive their own vehicle. But again, it's me trying to ascertain what's the best mixture for us to show up.
Right.
I'm never going to walk into somebody's house by myself.
Yeah, because that could be a dangerous situation.
I'm never going to walk into, this money. Not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
And the other thing is, you mentioned vacations. I assume vacations are unexcused absences?
Absolutely. Now, so what we do, and again, it's baked right into our handbook, all families get what we call a parent call. They get 7 parent calls because stuff happens. Kid's sick, but not sick enough to go to the hospital. They're gonna get 7 opportunities to call. What some families do, and we'll explain this to them, they may burn through all their parent calls through this vacation. Now, we have the protection of after 24 absences, right? Then we're not obligated to promote. But the reason we built attendance recovery is to protect somebody. Now, we've had other situations where, now culturally, depending on who we're talking about, if a Cape Verdean family has a death and they're going back to Cape Verde, that's a 2-week experience almost automatically, right? Now, I'm going to put in those parent calls, but then in the back of my mind and written down someplace, I'm going to be sensitive to what ends up happening if they get close to what that 24 marker is. And so, again, it's a case by case, it's a family by family. You know, we have the structure in place, but then I've also been given the autonomy to make those decisions, you know, as we move forward.
All right, Andy.
This may be more of a question for Holly, you may know better than anyone. Is the SRO's cruiser marked with anything from Southeastern Regional to show that that's a
Says Town of
student
Easton.
resource officer?
Yep.
Says Town of
That
Easton.
may be beneficial to the communities, knowing that this is a student resource officer. I know the cruiser is owned by the Town of Easton and used for many different things.
Just says Town of Easton.
Yeah,
Because they probably
yeah.
use it outside of.
I'm sure they do as well, right? Those things never
Okay.
shut off.
Right. But again, her uniform does, yes.
Right, but just the car pulling up is the
cruiser,
first thing they
right.
see, right? And that's, you know,
The one thing, though, I do want to sort of piggyback off of what Jessica said, is that we are going to a home where we haven't heard from anyone.
Yeah.
No parent is calling us back. We don't know where the student is. That student and their family could be in a serious medical situation. There could be something really terrible going on. So that's the reason that law enforcement is going. It's not just because the student hasn't come to school, and it's few and far between that
Oh,
we're
it's
doing.
it's a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
Like last year, it may have happened 3 to 4 times. Now, I was ready to go 8 times, but then I would get a phone call where some information would be given to me. Oh, I thought, let me wait on this, and then the next day, something that happened. The year before, I think it happened twice. And again, it's an elevation of things. It's after a certain procedure has gone by before I do that. And again, we're talking about the welfare of the family and of our students.
And this is not just us, other school districts do the same thing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do have a question.
Yep.
Now that we know what the students look like for their attendance and all the stuff, how is that translating into faculty and staff attendance? And the
I don't have
improvement
that
on
data, so I
Yeah,
don't
not my
want to.
circus,
I don't
not my
want
monkeys.
to. I don't have that data, so I wouldn't want to speculate. I mean, I think it's probably right around 95%, 94, 95%. But I would have to pull it, and I would want to pull that and pull out the people. We have had a very large number of faculty this year who have been affected by medical concerns, parenting leave and things like that. So I would want to pull them out to really get the data. So I wouldn't want to give you a data point that's wrong, but I can have that for next year.
Yeah, because that was one of our long-term discussions like a year
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, right.
Can I just, Madam Chairman, just ask you a quick, can you just, Ms. Lamar, again, thank you. On the robocalls, what language? So will they go Cape Verdean Creole, Haitian
So-
Creole initially, or?
So initially, the calls are going out in English.
They
So
are.
what I'm looking to change,
Okay,
and this is
okay.
using Dean's List, there will be a robocall that goes out in the language.
So we're gonna get there?
Absolutely.
We're gonna get, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And we've already signed a contract with that vendor. We're beta testing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. All right,
Thank you, Lloyd.
thank you so much, we really appreciate it.
Good job.
Okay, let me look at my agenda here, because we're moving things out of order. So let's look at
Let's do Brianna next.
8B, right? Yep, so I'm going to be taking 8B out of order, and we are going to be talking about the science fair.
God, I love the science fair.
Well, welcome.
Hi, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Brianna DeAndre. This is my second year teaching math here at Southeastern Regional. It's also my second year as science fair coordinator. And I'm here today to just kind of encourage the school committee to see if they would be interested in judging for our students. I know Robin came last year, thank you. But here's a little presentation to talk about the benefits of it, and then we'll get into it. So Science Fair, it's an event hosted by the school where students have the opportunity to experience science and also engineering. There's the emphasis for both of those areas. It builds their presentation skills, their collaboration skills. They get to work with a partner or partners if they would like. It's also a nationwide event, so we're happy that Southeastern has a science fair and is continuing to pursue it. Here are some projects, I'm not going to read them off, but we encourage students to tie their project areas and their topics to their technical areas. So as you can see, we have everything from environmental to medical, computer science. We have a lot of culinary this year. So it doesn't matter the shop you're in. We are sure that you can develop a topic that's interesting to you and also that can tie to your technical area. I like this example because this happened before I was here, obviously. Here's Adrian. He's a graduate who was in the engineering program, and he won the Massachusetts State Science Fair winner in 2014. Not only did he win, but he won $20,000. So that's a lot of money for a high school student to win just by, doing a really well thought out and presented project. So I like to always throw that into the students. Hey, this isn't just for funsies. This is maybe dinero. So that's a nice little encouragement. Also, we want to invite you. I'm a vocational technical graduate, so I'm really passionate about connecting the entire school committee, technical, academic, and it's a special place in my heart because of that. I was a dental assistant grad, so when I see dental projects or medical projects make it, it's really interesting, but also seeing students in culinary. As a math teacher, it's really exciting. So we invite you. This year it is Tuesday, February 4th from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. We know you have work, I'm sorry, but if you can make it, that'd be fabulous. We are having a judges training breakfast at the Boot and Shovel, so the culinary students will be involved, which is really, really nice. And we'll be tying in all areas. Academic teachers will be judging, but also technical, and also maybe you. And we've also reached out to a few co-op employers. My dad is a co-op employer for the building, so he's coming, and so we're just trying to really make it a community thing. This year it is 5 times the size of last year, so Robin will be shocked. But we went from making it, last year was my first year here. I had never seen what the science fair looked like before. And we are revamping it. We are encouraging students in honor science classes, but also students that want to just volunteer and do a project on whatever they want to. Yay, let's do it. So we are capping it at the top 100 qualifying projects, but right now we have 126 projects working and being worked on. So we are really excited, and we hope to see you there.
It's fantastic.
Brianna, what time is the training breakfast?
So it's going to be at 8 at the Boot and Shovel. We'll be in there from 8 to about 8:45. There will be, you know, the refreshments and things, and then we'll make our way down to the gym.
Right, so Robin went last year. Let's see if we can get at least one more person in this year. This looks really fantastic. Thank you so much. Any questions?
No.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna move another one out of order here. We're gonna be doing 7B, the much-awaited class of 2025 graduation discussion.
Right. Oh, there's Bob. You were hiding behind that. We, at our last meeting, had talked about the option of hosting our class of 2025 graduation ceremonies off-site at Stonehill College. And at our last meeting, you asked us to look into some other venues and get some more detailed information about what our students and their families really wanted for graduation, as well as see if there was some pricing information on other venues, and to get a more detailed quote from Stonehill or wherever. So we did do a student, parent, faculty member survey. And there are 462 responses, which is really good for our surveys.
awesome.
Usually we get 9. As you can see, only 9.3% of the entire respondent class really felt strongly we should have our graduation at Southeastern. And we knew that there were people who would feel strongly about that, but 63.2% said that they would like to have it at Stonehill, and I think that's based primarily on the fact that they can invite additional guests, and then, you know, at least a quarter, and this made me feel really good, at least a quarter said, you know, we trust you to make a good decision and we'll support whatever you do. So overwhelmingly, we have support for having the graduation off-site at Stonehill. I do want to have Bob just weigh in on some of the other venues you talked to before we talk about the
last
pricing.
thing you guys talked about, you know, maybe do a little more research on different venues and try to get some prices. So the first one I looked at, because I know they do graduations at Xfinity Center, and we talked about that. I actually talked to the lady. She got right back to me. She was really, really nice. But their starting price is $45,000.
Is how much?
45.
45.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's starting out. If you want an extra, you know, microphone, screens, and all that stuff, you know, I didn't get into that. I got the base price, but you're probably talking another $10,000. So they're pretty high up there. And matter of fact, I just saw how good she was. She got back to me today, believe it or not. She can't do our date.
Okay. So can't do this
some
year?
rock and roll show has got it now. But they, in response back to me, they were very, very good. Getting back to me right away. The Shaw Center, you know, Boston, Brockton Rocks. I called them a bunch of times, never got back to me. Did some research with the help of Deb Cabral. 2010, 2011, you guys, they had the graduation here, there. I think because we're doing the renovations or something.
In the pouring
And,
rain.
At the time, I think you paid like $8,000 or whatever, but we did everything. And from what the feedback I heard, the people who were there, it wasn't the greatest.
It was not.
Especially some head shaking. It wasn't the greatest experience.
Jen was
So
there.
I did just trying to, you know, get some feedback there. And the last one I called was Foxborough Stadium, you know, Mr. Kraft talked, no, he didn't. But, he was busy hiring a coach. They got right back to me, believe it or not, and they do Bridgewater University. That's the only one they do. I didn't ask why, whatever, but they did get back to me. Said we have other function halls, if you're interested, and other stuff, but that was, you know, that was a no there. So those are the three I researched.
Okay.
And the other place really isn't big enough that I could find. So that's the ones that I got, and to get back to you. And again, to refresh your memory, for us, our initial cost here was around $12,000. But if we're talking about hiring extra security, a private security firm, which we talked about, you're adding probably a total of $21,000 to do it here again. Now, Stonehill, we did a tour, Stonehill, and probably can talk about that. Christina went, a bunch of us went, Mark went. They were excellent, at least they got to see the building. I know the place because I used to work there. They did send do you have that diagram?
Yeah.
I'll put it up on
Yeah,
the
the
screen.
layout.
That's part of the stuff.
So this is actually their layout. I actually did this when I was there. This is their sports complex. This was where we would have it. As you can see, the top is kind of highlighted, 3,800. That's the maximum seat, which would be plenty for us. That's the whole building, you know, full with the stage, screens and all that. I think we're talking at least 7 guests. they could
Yeah,
invite.
about 7 guests.
Yes,
So-
7 guests.
So the student plus
Each
7.
student. could,
Student plus 7.
Yeah. So, Mark, the events coordinator there, got back to me, pretty firm number, $32,000. Total, that includes everything, the audio, visual, police, like I talked about before, everything, parking, staff. The only part we would have to do is, they don't want to take responsibility for checking the people in tickets, ticket-wise, so we would have to have staff do that. But security, everything. We're gonna live stream it. They have a vendor, I think it's what is it, East West.
East West, the same one we do ours.
We
Yeah.
actually used
Yeah.
and did all this stuff. You would have to add another $2,500, so you're talking total $34,000 for everything. That's not,
34.5, I think was
Yeah,
the
34.5.
final detail.
34, that's what I actually wrote down, I don't know why I didn't say
Yeah,
it.
34.
34.5. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So, as soon as we make a decision, give them a call, and we can work out contract stuff and all that, but,
And that includes 10 to 12 licensed police officers.
yep.
Yeah, Stockholm has their own plus.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they're all
their campus police are all Massachusetts state.
Correct.
They're real officers.
Police
that they
officers,
carry,
that's correct, yeah.
Is that in our budget this year?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So we have, I spoke to Christina, she's gonna kill me, because I can't remember what line
Early
item.
college high school.
Early college high school. So we have additional funding from open house, we didn't spend all of our open house. We have what we initially budgeted for graduation, and then early college high school, Massasoit paid for some of the courses that we send our students for because they got grant funding. So we had savings from early college high school that we had budgeted, so we do have the money.
Okay.
So are you looking for a vote?
I would love a vote, because I think this is the right thing to do for our students. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do for our staff so that they can participate and enjoy the graduation. From a parking standpoint, a logistics standpoint, a safety standpoint, I strongly support moving the commencement to Stonehill and then budgeting for it in the years to come.
I do have further questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the budget for this year. Do we have it possibly in the budget for next year? Is that something
We
we're going
will
to continue?
budget for next year. Yeah.
Next question is, what, we did talk about shuttling maybe students, so the students could park here and be at the school on time, be at the graduation
I
on time?
think that we've decided that it probably makes the most sense for them just to go to Stonehill.
Okay.
We have also talked about doing something here on the final day of the school year, where they could wear their cap and gown and be recognized here on our campus, so that folks who really want to have that memorable moment here, as seniors, we're going to provide that for them. So the details of what that looks like are still being worked out, but recognizing that that's important too.
Okay.
So, but I think if they come here and then they bus over there, we're just creating the same problem here that, like, somebody's gonna have to be here monitoring all the traffic and parking, and, yeah, I think it makes sense for them just to go there.
You could do like they do the elementary school walkthroughs, you could do something similar
That's
where
what
they
we're
just walk
thinking
through.
about doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Day before.
So,
Yeah, we did talk about doing a walkthrough over there. People were worried about that, not knowing the place. So I think
oh, yeah.
we might be able to do it the day before, if not the morning of.
No, I meant like what they could do like a lap around.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the hallway.
You're talking about like a graduation practice round.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
walkthrough, there. And again, one of the reasons we both brought it up, past 3 years, is this number one in my mind, safety. As an events coordinator, Scott's the safety guy here every year. you know, we're like, oh, God, thank God, we got through this. Thank God we got through this. So I think you're really gonna weigh that in, the safety aspect of it.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
My only thing is there, it probably is not a thing, but I know like in Gillette's contract, they have like somebody better can bump you in your date. That's not true in Stonehill, right? Like
No.
if we
No,
book the
I'm gonna-
date, there's nothing
If
that
you
will.
guys pass this tonight,
Okay.
tomorrow morning, my first phone
We'll be locked.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
we'll
wanna
be
make
locked
sure,
in.
like Gillette is like, you know,
So another
some big
school-
guy wants to come and rent it, they're like, you gotta move your prom, and I don't, I just wanna make sure that we don't have to move
So there's
graduation
another
date.
school graduating on the weekend,
King Philip.
and that's how this is kind of piggybacked.
Yeah.
Right, so they don't have to
Because-
take down their setup.
So they don't have to take down a setup.
They'll probably set up Tuesday, I'm hoping, and we can get in there.
Okay, I just wanna make sure they can't bump
This is
us.
also after the end of their school year.
Oh,
but
right,
ju-
yeah.
But just
Just
before their summer program
Yeah.
started.
That's
Yeah.
right. So they won't have students on campus. that
Right,
would-
okay,
yeah.
and I
Who's
just don't
drawing
wanna get
straws
bumped.
for ticket
I
takers?
agree.
That's what I want to know.
Well, we also have to remember, we have Mike Piotrowski there, and I don't think he would allow us to get bumped.
Mike's
so.
But the other thing is, like, we will have to have somebody who collects tickets, but security will be there. Right, so it will be very different than last year when it's, you know, our own staff,
Christmas
like,
tree
trying
amount.
to, like,
gonna say, just
navigate
fall.
the crying parents who couldn't get in. And we're gonna have three more guests per person,
Right, it's
so.
gonna be so much less of an
And they
issue.
can bring all the cars they want.
Right.
Parking is
This
not an
great.
issue.
Oh,
Also,
yes,
there
let's go.
is more than adequate handicapped accessible parking
Okay.
directly behind where you see the stage there.
Yeah.
Behind that is a whole lot that can be designated for.
Possibly a future question to do with this. 7 tickets is a lot for some people and not enough for other people. Have we ever thought about like a
Well, the kids sell them.
ticket pool? Like I only need 4.
kids
Let me
sell
put my other 3 here
It's
for somebody with an
vocational
enormous
school.
pool.
Yeah, why
We
not?
teach them marketing and entrepreneurship. They sell those things. So the students
That's what we
often work that out amongst
Okay.
themselves, yeah. And then we also, if you do have extra tickets, they can turn them into guidance, and guidance can happen.
But we were also talking about e-tickets,
Yeah, we're also
which will
looking
solve
at
that
getting
problem as well.
That'd be great. Okay,
think
any
this is
further
great.
questions?
Okay.
And
Let's
if
do it.
not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to, oh, I don't know though.
Approve.
I didn't read the thing.
No,
I didn't write it.
Okay, motion to move our graduation to Stonehill, starting this year.
Second.
Classic. All right. There you go. Any
Fancy.
further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
want to modify the motion?
Yes.
No, that's fine. You did
I
absolutely.
tried, don't you?
No, you did. Motion to move the 2025 graduation to Stonehill College expenditure not to exceed $40,000.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay, so now we're taking it to a roll call vote. And you're okay seconding it? with the
I will second it
modification?
again, for the third time.
I know, I didn't have a. Are you ready?
Roll call vote. Andy,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Jerson,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Barbara.
Barbara.
Yes, she said
All
yes.
right. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you, everyone.
And I just want to thank Bob Riley in particular. He did a lot of legwork
yes.
on this.
Thank you for your support.
Awesome. We're excited, that's for sure. Okay, so now we're gonna move back and then hopefully follow some kind of order.
That was
We are back to four. Actually, what audiences and communications?
My
We don't
business.
announcements. Oh, no, we already did.
Oh, we already did that. Okay, public announcements.
All right, so I have 3 announcements or things to share. First of all, update on the school committee vacancy in Sharon. They have posted on their social media and throughout the town notice of the vacancy, and they are asking folks to submit a letter of interest by tomorrow so that they can move forward. So we're very hopeful that we will have that vacancy filled sooner rather than later, particularly as we come into budget season, okay? Update on student parking and concerns from our neighbors on Morse Road. We are getting a call, at least one phone call, almost every day from our neighbors across the street who have significant concerns about the number of students who are parking on Morse Road. And if you've never been down Morse Road, it's that little road over there. It's narrow, there's a cemetery there, and there are between 15 and 20 cars parking over there, and causing some upset. No one is complaining that our students are ill-behaved or anything like that. It's just they're parking in the grass, they're blocking access to the cemetery, and things like that. And then on top of it, our neighbors, as are we, are very concerned about students crossing 106. It is not safe. I asked the SRO to please give me the list of the students that are habitually parking there, and we'll be sending out another notice to the parents, just advising them of how dangerous it is for their student to be crossing the road. It is not it is a public road. It is not posted as no parking. So when folks are calling us and asking us to take action against our students, there's nothing that we can legally do to keep people from parking on a public road. So one of the things we're exploring or encouraging the neighbors to explore is if they can go to the town and have it designated as no parking during the school day, because it is a problem. We first and foremost want to keep our students safe, but secondly, we want to be good neighbors. Our neighbors on Morse Road look after our school. They will call Scott if they see anything going on. They never complain about the traffic or big events or whatever. They support our school in every way, and right now they're feeling like they're not being supported or heard. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that, and aware that we have spoken with the chief of police, we've spoken or communicated with the town manager, just to let them know that it is a concern for us as well. So, does anybody have any questions about that?
Yeah, so two questions. One, what's the reason why the kids are, the students are
They're
parking there?
juniors and they don't have parking privileges.
And second, if that road is marked as no parking, where will they park? Where will the students
They,
park their car?
the juniors don't have parking privileges.
They're supposed to be taking the.
Oh,
Period.
yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
And you know,
That
they
case-
may find someplace else. I don't know,
Right.
but you know, it's continuing to be a concern. My biggest concern is those students crossing the road, particularly in the morning.
Yeah.
If you drive eastbound
And
on
flying.
106,
Yeah.
well, first people
The
are
sun.
flying,
Can't
and
even
the
see.
solar glare is
Yes,
so
can't
bad.
see 'em.
Yeah,
You can't see at the top of this road, somebody crossing this, there's just no way.
Yeah.
and the state will not put in a crosswalk
Madam
on
Chair,
a
may I?
state road.
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just quick questions. So, Holly, can I just ask a little small detail? So you're gonna send out a letter?
I'm gonna send an email directed to the parents that we know
Okay.
are families that we know
Yeah.
are affected. And just, I'm gonna say exactly what I've said here,
Right.
which is, it's a public road. I can't stop your child from parking there, but I have serious concerns about their safety.
Are we liable?
We can't be liable, there is no
Right.
crosswalk.
Right, so if they're choosing to park
Yeah.
there and they get hit by a car.
Right, there's no crosswalk, and I cannot endanger our staff by having them
Right.
act as crossing guards. Yes, but particularly
not
in the
allowed to,
morning,
yeah.
right? They could get hit just as easily as anybody else. It's not, we looked into 3 years ago putting a school zone out here, but because we are a high school, for some reason, I don't understand all the intricacies, but because we're a high school, we were told we cannot have a school zone. We cannot have a crosswalk because there's no formal parking designated across that street,
Oh.
right? So if there were, but even then, my understanding is the town of Easton would not approve it because the speeds on this road are so high that they would not approve a crosswalk. It's
Wouldn't-
also a state road,
Yeah, it
so
just
there's
wouldn't
only
be
so
safe.
much the town of Easton can control.
So so you send out that email, let's just say, devil's advocate here, they convert it to resident parking or no parking during the time the school is in operation. It wouldn't be our SRO who would do the towing, right?
No,
Who would order the towing of those
no,
cars?
it would just be regular.
Regular town of Easton.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just hope
Because
we
then
don't.
it'd be a
Should we put
problem
that in
with
the
those
email?
people in the
I mean,
town, not us.
we can't tow the cars, we can't have the cars get towed now.
Because it's.
No, they're not,
No, because
so,
there's no
the, the students are not doing anything illegal. I wanna make that
No,
very
they're not.
clear. They're
No
not
one
doing
said-
anything illegal, unethical, whatever. It's a public road.
No, it's a safety
and
thing.
they can park there.
It's a safety
Our
issue.
concern is the safety issue, and it is the disruption of enjoyment of our neighbor's property, and access to the cemetery.
And we don't want to
That
have
would
a,
be the only violation with the cemetery commission, if that's a private cemetery and the kids are parking in it. That would be the only one.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
if
know.
they're blocking a driveway, then.
Yeah, I think they're just.
we just don't want a situation where something
Very
happens to
small
one of the
cemetery.
students
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
They're gonna get hurt, they
you
can't
know,
go to the
it's.
state highway.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, a parent has to make an informed decision about this,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But it is, and even, you know, I spoke to the SRO and she's like, there've been some close calls with kids crossing
I
the street.
stop for a pack every day.
They do
bet.
have a hard
Like,
time
at least if I
paying
stop, I know somebody stopped.
Yeah, so, anyway, I just wanted to keep you up to date on that. And then finally, I just want to give you just a brief statement on the Power School data breach. We are not a Power School school. So we were not affected by the data breach of their student information system. We use School Brains, which is a completely different system. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that we were not impacted by the data breach, and that our administrative team is actively working on our incident response plan. We meet as a district admin team every Tuesday morning, and that's part of our regular, that is part of, for the last few weeks, has been part of our regular meeting cadence, is to go through the incident response plan. So, just so you know, so those are the three pieces of information.
Any questions for Holly before we move on? Okay, let's move on to 4B, conferences, conventions, and meetings.
Everything there is fairly up to date.
Yeah.
Okay. And then FYI news articles.
Did I have anything else? I don't think I had anything in there this time. So-
Okay, so then we're moving on to the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Barbara? Barbara?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Jerson?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Robin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous, motion passes 9-0. Next up is our financial report, and Karen.
Hello. Let's see. Here you have the treasurer's report, reconciliation balances through November 30th, 2024. On the first page, you see the different categories, the cash balance, the receipts that came in throughout the whole fiscal year, and then the next cash flow page is easier to read. The total cash at the end of the month is $15,464,000. On the next page, we have the budgeted revenue. We received all of the assessments from all of the towns and city within November. There was one paid in early December, and there was some Chapter 70 aid received in November as well. The next page is the salary page. So it shows the total salaries for the year at $10,376,000. On the next page, we have the reconciliation, which is the differences between the GL balances and the general ledger and the bank statements. And as described below in the reconciling item, most of those are the outstanding checks at month end, payroll, things that hadn't gone out yet, month end transfers, mass teachers, because that takes a little longer these days, a couple of days after the month goes. And that's about it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, any questions for Karen? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the treasurer's cash report.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, roll call vote.
I'm just waiting for this to catch.
Sure.
Barbara,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Jerison,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 9-0. Thank you. Next up is our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Administration. And
Yes, good evening. So, as you can see up on the screen, our general fund budget, our appropriated budget is there. And at this time of the year, we're still with 58% of our budget left, so we're in good shape there. Again, the warrants go through, you've seen those that have been approved, but if you have any questions, I can answer them. And there's also the revolving accounts, so again, you can see there are revolving accounts. There, we're in good shape with those. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any on those.
any questions for Mark? Well, thank you. All right. Next up is the FY25 budget and the governor's revision.
All right, this is Mark again.
So, back on, actually, it was July 29th, that the governor made some amendments to her budget, the state budget. And in turn, good news for the school, we received an additional $20,160. So that being said, we have to make some adjustments to our budget to be in balance so that when we get audited, those things are all in place. So you can see that our new foundation budget is $36,650, $377, and the original was $36,630, $217. So what the state did is they increased the amount of state aid and increased the amount of assessments by the towns. So to nullify the assessments, because we don't want to go back to the towns and ask for a special town meeting to get those votes, I've adjusted the state aid for the transportation to $1,274,414. What that is, because again, that's an estimate, and that's based on the numbers we received the prior year. So I just adjusted that estimate. So the state aid piece was roughly 18,000. I don't think I did it right. I think I did it right. Yes, I did. It was $18,924 from the state aid, and the assessments was $1,236. So all I did was I changed our best estimate, or our state aid amount from $1,274.14 from $1,273.178. So the $1,200.
1 million.
Couple more.
I'm sorry, 1 million.
1,000, a million.
Yeah, so I increased it by $1,236. So that in turn leaves the assessments right where they are. So the assessments don't change to the town. We just change our guesstimate for the state aid.
Being a good neighbor.
So we would need the school committee to vote the new FY25 budget total of $39,289,552. And what I'm going to do with the okay of the school committee is the additional $20,000 I'll put in the to be allocated line, because again, we did not budget that for anything at this point, and we'll leave it there, and then it'll be up to the school committee at their discretion to allocate those funds the way they see fit.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions for Mark? And Holly, do you have anything?
I just want to, we do require a 2/3 vote of the committee as it's constituted to approve this, so we need at least 7 votes.
All right.
And there's the motion on the screen if anybody wants to.
Move to approve the changes to the FY25 budget, creating a new total of $39,289,522, which represents an increase of $20,160 over the original budget.
$552.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, what did I say? What?
22.
Sorry,
52. 52. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
There's a lot of numbers.
If not, we'll take it to a vote.
Roll call vote. Barbara? Barbara?
Oh, yes.
Jess?
I think I'm not hearing you, but okay.
Christine?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jerison?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes. All right. Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay. And now we have the ratification of the payroll warrants. We could do that in one vote.
Yep.
Move to approve the payroll warrants D and E as presented in the agenda. Also recognizing the public disclosure with respect to Ms. Sosa's recusal.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, let's bring it to a vote.
Roll,
can't hear her, that's why I'm,
roll call vote, Barbara.
I vote yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Jen,
I'm recusing myself.
oh yeah, sorry,
That's okay.
and Robin.
Yes.
All right, so that motion passes 8-0 and 1 recusal. Thank you. Now we're back into old business and the fabulous STEM building update.
Mr.
And share he.
Yes.
Deep
breaths.
breath.
Yeah. Breathe deep. Serenity now. Fire protection's in. There's an up, there's some minor redos that gotta be done to that due to the, I don't know if it was drawing changes or they didn't read the drawings, but they gotta lower them because they're kind of close to the beams. Not a big deal. The biggest issue we've run into is the metal panels. The first one showed up with a large gouge going through them in quite a few panels. So we had to go back to them, and then they sent in additional panels, said no problem, we'll replace them, and they came in, they were a different color. Super helpful. So now we have gone back to the drawing board, and we have ordered new panels with about a 4 to 6 week delay. So it is setting us back. We are now looking at late March, early April, hopefully worst case scenario. The roofer has been delayed due to weather and wind. We've had some challenges there. I don't know if the area has been covered yet. I don't think that's been hammered out yet. There's been some challenges. Windows are delayed. The company is just, for some reason, it's just delayed. We're not sure why. We're not getting a lot of responses. Everybody is on it. It's not to the lack of our team or the team we're working with. It is the outside construction of the windows and the storefronts and the doors and the fire clips. And it has been a challenge, and as we all know, construction projects are still a challenge post-COVID across the board. We are managing it best we can to mitigate all problems.
And we're still well ahead of the deadline for the grant. I
It's
think
more frustration level than
it
anything
is.
else
I
is all.
mean, we had the panels come in the scratch, damaged, then the wrong color. Then we agreed they had a color in stock, they told us. So they said, if you change the color slightly, we'll resend the whole order. So we came out, I think the day after Christmas or something, and looked at the panel samples, picked the sample. They called us a week later and said, oh, they overestimated how much of that they had in stock. You're gonna have to pick another color. So we made an executive decision. I mean, they're all in the same color family, right? Had to pick another
Silversmith now, I think we've gone with. I don't know.
So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but we are still on track. And actually the delay with the windows now sort of feeds, it actually lines up with the delay in the panels.
Even if we had the panels, we still couldn't seal the floors, we couldn't do any painting, we couldn't do anything because the windows are wide open. So, it's okay, we're gonna be all right. It's just been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. So, and we've begun ordering the equipment, so it'll be here when it's airtight, and watertight. So, we're doing all right.
Any questions for Andy, Holly, Mark? All right, well, we appreciate your leadership with this.
Absolutely.
It's a big, small project.
It is. I was saying we could build a $500 million high school, and I'm not sure we'd have this many change orders. It's all good.
Okay.
All right, class graduation.
Now we're doing C superintendent's goals.
Perfect. All right, so, the chair and in response to my evaluation had asked me to propose a communication goal as it relates to communication with the school committee. And so I have included that here. And with the thought of ensuring regular communication, consistent communication with all members of the committee, and really sort of trying to create sort of a two-way flow of information, while also being very respectful of the open meeting law, and so that I'm not assisting anyone in sort of deliberating things outside of this meeting space. So my proposal is to provide bi-weekly updates to you, including all those things that are listed there, and within that, to give you an opportunity to give feedback to me about any information that you're getting, any information you need, any data that you'd like to see, any thoughts you have about, our staff presentations that we try and make meaningful for you every month, and things like that. So that sort of opens up some channels of communication in a regular cadence. And then I also included something in there about just in the event of an emergency, we have set up a school committee group in our Thrill Share that's like through our website, where I can get out a very quick text message. So just make sure Deb has your most up-to-date cell phone information when, as soon as I can, and then I'll follow up with more detail when the situation sort of resolves itself. But those are just some thoughts going forward. If you would like me to add something, amend something, I'm happy to do that.
Do we need to download something for that, or that just goes to our regular text message? I've never Thrill Share.
It would just go directly to.
It's not like an app or something.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. So any feedback on Holly's proposed communication goal? Or any
They're
questions?
excellent.
Yes.
The only thing for the upcoming events, would it be possible to send out calendar invites just so we can put them in our calendars? I think it's just a great reminder tool, that people like scatterbrained like myself, could need all the help I can get.
Seriously.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for taking the time to put that together, Holly. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is the strategic planning update.
All right, so we had our kickoff meeting on January 8th with sort of a largest stakeholder group. Not January the 8th, December the 11th. Then January the 8th, the leadership team here sort of took all that information in. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 22nd, from 3 to 6. I know Jessica attended the first meeting. You're certainly welcome as school committee members if you would like to attend. If anyone has an interest, just let the chair know so that we don't end up with a quorum of the school committee there. Just to participate and hear. We did a SWOT analysis. We did a visioning exercise. The first kickoff meeting was that night we had that terrible, terrible wind, storm, and rain. So we had relatively low turnout from our parents, and we didn't have any students because of transportation concerns for students. We believe we have about 5 students coming on January 22nd, and the principal has reached out to do additional outreach to the parent council, the student council, school council, so that we can just put that back on the parent radar. So.
And is the 22nd the one where the school committee members should go? I know there's kind of a bunch of meetings, and like some are more the administrative team, some are for everybody else. So could you just explain that a little bit?
This is the big stakeholder group. So yes, this would be very appropriate for school committee members to attend.
Yep.
What's the date on that?
January 22nd.
3 to 6.
3 to 6.
3 to 6. Okay.
And then I think is the 23rd negotiations, Heather? I'm getting them all.
Yes.
No, we skip a week.
February 5th.
We skip a week, right, okay.
So,
We skip 2 weeks.
right, this
2 weeks.
Thursday.
This Thursday, so right.
2 weeks, yeah. Heather's like, I can see it.
Would you like my calendar?
So many meetings.
Like, how do you schedule so many meetings?
But they still need to check with Christina.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, just make sure you check with Christine. I mean, it's not that a quorum can't be there, but we'd have to post it as an open public meeting. Okay.
Sounds good. Any questions about the strategic planning? All right, thank you. Moving on, principal search update.
Okay. So, we posted the permanent principal position in December. We received 19 applications. I reviewed the applications with the HR generalist and Dr. Rob, the executive director of DEI, to ensure that all applicants who will be forwarded for initial interview met the minimum requirements of licensure and experience. One point I do want to clarify is we do require the candidates who are being interviewed to have a vocational principal license versus an academic principal license and 6 years of experience in a vocational school. one of the questions we got when we sent out a survey to faculty to just get their feedback was, well, what if somebody has an academic background? So someone can be an academic teacher, a guidance counselor, whatever, but that experience within the vocational setting, we found, I think, is a huge priority for me. I didn't want people to think that only vocational teachers could get that license. You can get a vocational principal license if you've been an academic teacher.
I have that license.
So first round interviews have actually already begun. We are interviewing 9 qualified candidates. This includes 2 internal candidates and 7 external candidates.
Okay, hold on, pause. So we got 19 applications, and you.
Many of them did not meet the minimum.
Okay, so you got 9 at the minimum qualifications. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
9 who met the minimum qualifications or had not been eliminated in the previous search.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You said 2 internal and
2 internal, 7 external. First round interviews are being conducted by a team of district and high school administrators and the president of the federation. And then the second round will be, the administrators not participating in the first round are the vice principal of curriculum, the vice principal of student support services, the director of guidance, and the director of special education, because we wanted to save them for the second round. Those folks are gonna work most closely with the principal, and so we knew that their questions and perspective would be different and wanted to preserve that. So I'm hoping that eventually I will get a list of 3 people at least that we can narrow down as finalists, and then we will do what we've done previously, which is to have folks come in and be interviewed by students, have a open forum where they can meet with members of the community, and obviously do a final interview with myself and the assistant superintendent. The one thing I'll do differently this time is I have tried to strike that balance between being involved, but also letting other groups sort of really, have their own voice and not feel like I'm looking over their shoulder or whatever. But when they come in for the finalists come in, I am gonna sit in on the student interviews. I'm gonna sit in on the forums, because I really do wanna see how they interact with different stakeholder groups and collaborator groups in our community. So hopefully that works out. So that's where we are. We're still on track to make a selection by the end of February, which is our goal. Okay. Any questions? We have a good applicant pool, so.
Sounds great. Sounds like a busy interviews. Because you need 7 externals, so they'll all come and do tours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to new business and payment from prior year.
Okay, so every year we pay longevity to our employees who have been here for 5 or more years. We do have 310 or so employees, and occasionally we miss somebody. And so it was pointed out to us that our electrical instructor, Michael Sachs, who was hired in September of '21, as a teacher, but he had also worked for us from 26 to 2019. And we very often, if there's a small break in service, will allow that person to count those years towards longevity. And in this case, we overlooked Mr. Sachs. And so what we're asking you to do is allow us to use FY25 monies to pay him the longevity payment we would have paid him in FY24.
I mean, you just resume the normal schedule.
We would resume the normal
Okay.
schedule after that.
Any questions?
No, I second. Well,
Do you want to make the motion?
Make a motion. No, I don't.
Okay.
I forgot the words.
Move to approve
There
the
you go.
longevity payment from Mike Sachs for the FY24 school year.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote. Barbara?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Jerson?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you.
Now that the motion is passed, can I just
Yes.
ask a technical question?
Yes.
Yes.
Or a procedure? No, yes, a technical question. So I voted yes, but I do have this question. So normally if there's a break in service that exceeds a year, you don't do this. Or is our policy, but we don't have that policy
We don't
here.
have anything
That's
written
what it
in
is.
policy, and when we look back at precedents,
That's what it
that
is.
has been set like for decades.
Okay.
People who have had service and then come back have had it counted. It's probably something we should put into a
I
written
would think
policy,
so.
but without it,
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's why I voted yes, but I realized that. All right, thank you.
Aren't you the chair of policy?
Yeah.
Actually, I was gonna say, Mr. Policy Chair, I mean, that's on our next meeting. So, subcommittee assignments.
Speaking of subcommittees, right?
Right? I put together the reorganization. Some committees I kept the same just because they're either a new committee or there was a reason why we should keep the same folks in the subcommittees. I tried to maintain balance. And I also tried to do this anticipating that we may get a representative from Sharon as a part of this. So I tried to do the best that I can. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. But I think this is the best way to utilize everyone's talents in meaningful ways.
Okay.
just a reminder, all of you are members of the budget subcommittee, and we are holding budget meetings
next week,
the entire day of the 21st. Here in this conference room.
Budget?
Is it just gonna be one day?
One day.
One day, and then Tuesdays, 8
We've
to 10.
reserved
Okay.
Tuesday, but sometimes we can crank through it all. But we'll probably still meet Tuesday morning for facilities and technology. Those department budgets, because those are often fleshed out by what we see on the.
I'll double check.
Yes, Tuesday is the first day, Wednesday is the second day.
All right, so next Tuesday, you said 8 to
10. I think it's what?
8 to
Next Tuesday is 8 to 3.
8 to 3. And Wednesday's 8 to 10.
Probably 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I might be able to come on a Tuesday for a half a day.
Yeah,
I think
if you can't come for the whole day, if you can stop in, I think it's really good to see how we do our budget and how detailed it is.
Do you want me to send the budget schedule, and then you can know what departments?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, I'll
Thank
send
you,
it out to
Deb.
everybody.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the NSBA conference.
Correct.
In Georgia.
So you have traditionally sent up to 3 members to the National School Board Association, and it's School Boards Association Conference every year. This year is in Atlanta. I believe last year it was in New Orleans. Just wanted to know if you want to send folks again so that Deb can help coordinate travel and hotel.
Justin does not want to go. Yeah, he's ready to go.
Atlanta.
Any other interest
ATL.
besides Jerson?
No, it's.
I have 3 little kids at home.
I understand. Hubby can hold off the.
It's only a weekend, Jen. You could
No.
use a weekend away.
She has 3 kids at home, but her husband teaches here. You can't have
I was gonna say, maybe we could have like a mom's group go.
When they're a little bigger, I'll go. When is it?
It's
April 4th to 6th.
Yeah, it's a Friday to Saturday.
Brent?
Sunday,
Oh,
sorry.
I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm looking at the
You could use
speakers.
a weekend.
You guys is just Jerson, huh?
That's right before my
I'm looking at
dissertation.
the speakers.
There is one nice thing, is the new president of the NSBA is going to be, oh, God, what's his name? He's going to be from Massachusetts, and why can't I remember his name right now, but he's from, I think, Holyoke or something, and he was a former president of MSBA. I mean, MASC.
Yeah.
The letters
Too many
sometimes.
letters, I guess.
So, yeah.
I got 3 kids at home too, man.
Well, Jerson, we appreciate you representing us.
That's a
We'll
good
be
start.
there in
Like,
spirit.
I have 3 kids
Keith.
at home, and I'm like, can I do that?
Do we have
Like,
to make the decision?
get me out of Dodge.
That was in Europe.
We have to
I
make,
don't know if I can pull
does this
that
have to
off.
be done tonight?
No, we have time.
That's discounted on the recommendation.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time, but reach out if you're interested.
How many people would you ideally want to send?
We could, up to 3.
To
I
3?
think it makes sense to send more than one. I think you get more out
Yeah.
of it if you have
Somebody
It
to,
would be interesting because it's an election year, so it'd be interesting to see what comes nationally. That would be.
although you might not know much
Yeah,
that
fun to go.
No, it's
just
April.
social. Yeah.
Oh, no, you will know.
The first
So
100 days
Title
are gonna be.
Okay.
You will know in January.
All right.
Or early
Yes, sir.
February what's happening.
Okay.
It would be interesting.
Well, think about it.
I'll
and,
think
you
about
know,
it, maybe.
All
let
right,
us know.
so
babysitter.
Jerson's a definite, we can at least register him.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, they have the
You can
Coca-Cola
purchase the
fat-
tickets, you can do
Coca-Cola
all
fat.
that.
I think,
Meal
you know,
Oh, wait.
the registration
You can get
is
Coke
never
from
the
all around
hard
the
part,
world.
it's the hotels.
That's the problem.
Yeah, hotels are
Yeah.
tricky.
Sure.
Yeah. That's
I'll,
all right.
I'll
well,
stand
thank
in
you.
reservation pending the decision of my colleague.
All
Thank you.
right, so can we have
These
folks?
speakers and,
I mean, you could go anyways.
I
you
could do
know.
hotels.
no,
but
I'm waiting for
put the
you.
names on the ticket.
See, what I do is I look at the
And
speakers.
cancel it later.
Yeah, I don't know who's
I know, that's
speaking.
what I'm trying to find.
Yeah, hello, it's like,
Oh, there they are, sorry. Right in front of me.
When would we
So
want a
can
deadline?
Can we have folks let us know by the end of this month?
yes, that's
Okay.
perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
So Deb, we'll send out just a reminder, like the last Monday of the month.
Oh, I'm not saying anything about the speakers. Jesus, our lie.
The link is in the packet for all the
Okay.
Great. All right, thank you. So, in the interest of time, we'll be moving on to ninth grade shop placement.
Oh,
Hot topic.
hot topic.
I haven't gotten any calls this year, so we must have done all right.
Well, you passed them to me.
You got one?
From that woman that,
Yeah,
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 I
okay,
think because she's from Stoughton, so.
yeah.
Makes sense.
She did on like her placement. Oh, so ninth graders are placed.
Ninth graders are placed. So just to remind you, last year, we had 64% of our students who got their first pick.
Right.
Okay.
Overall, we had 84% of our students who got their first, second, or third pick
Nice.
last year, okay? But we were a little bit concerned that that first pick percentage was low, based on historic trends.
Yeah.
So we made changes to the admissions policy, which include our placement policy, to prioritize the students who pick the shop first. So if you recall last year, on the scoring rubric, if you had a 400 and you didn't get, your first pick was plumbing and you didn't get in, your second pick was electrical and you didn't get in, your third pick was carpentry, you could displace a kid who wanted carpentry first.
Right.
Because you had a higher score on the rubric. It just didn't end up with equitable placement of students, to be quite honest with you. So this year, we prioritized the students who picked the shop first. So we placed all first places first, and then we went to second, and then we went to third. So what ended up happening is we had 77.5% of students got their first place this year.
That's great.
So that's a huge improvement. 85% either got their first or second, and 88.5% got their first, second, or third. Okay, so really, we saw increases across the board.
That's great.
That being said, we asked students to designate 5 picks. We did have 32 students who did not get their first, second, third, fourth, or fifth pick.
Ooh.
It's the exact, and the chair had asked me if that was a function of the higher enrollment in the 9th grade this year, because we had 19 more students than normal. It's not. It's a function of the shops that they're picking. So our very popular shops, plumbing, electrical, medical assistant, dental assisting, if you're picking some combination of those 3 as your top 3,
Right. Yep.
the likelihood that you could end up bumped out of all of those and bumped out of, it really goes up.
Yeah.
So that's what we see sort of consistently year over year over year. And so I think that becomes part of our conversation around, when we think about future of the district. If we continue to see, like, medical assisting is just a huge shop that a lot of students are interested in. We're at capacity in there. We also have issues attracting licensed teachers for that program. It's one of the reasons that when Brockton asked if I would support their Health Careers Pathway program becoming a Chapter 74 medical assisting program, that I wrote them a letter of support. There's so much demand for these kind of programs. And so just really thinking about, like, what do we do to meet the need? But we did see overall an improvement. The other sort of stark thing I want to mention is overall, so if we round up, that 78% of students overall got their first first pick. 78% of students with a disability got their first pick. So last year, the big difference from last year is of those 31 or 2 kids that didn't get their top 5 last year, we saw a disproportionate representation of multilingual learners and students with disabilities. We did not see that with our students with disabilities last year, this year.
Good job.
With our multilingual students, last year only 22% of them got their top pick. This year it was 50%.
Good.
So improvement, still underperforming versus students overall. And that is largely a function of the inclusion of academic grades in our rubric. So we're looking at that, we're gonna take a look at that and how much the academic grade should weigh when we're looking at shop placement, when we're seeing a disparity like that with our multilingual learners. The one thing that I have gotten a few phone calls, and one of the concerns that parents raised and that we are addressing is the way we tell kids that they don't get their shop. So they are asked to come to the guidance department. The director of guidance meets with them. She lets them know, listen, you know, you did not get one of your top 5 shops. Here's your next steps. We did like a mini second exploratory for them in shops that still had seats. And the feedback I've gotten from parents is that the word started getting around. If you're getting called out of shop to go to guidance, you didn't get your shop. Or if you're getting called out of class, you didn't get your shop. And that sort of added to some emotional distress for students. So we've talked to the director of guidance about like, okay, how can we do this different? And she recognized it right away as well, that it probably wasn't the best way, because students, then you're telling them, you didn't get your shop, and now I need you to make a decision about X, Y, or Z. And she's like, they're not in a good headspace. So we do need to rethink that and be more sensitive to that, because, you know, by the time that 32nd kid got called out of class to go to guidance, they were a wreck, right? So we are looking at that and thinking about a way that we can communicate that, you know, efficiently. We need to let them know, but make sure that it's, you know, in a way that's supportive and allows them some time to sort of absorb before we're.
I'm sorry, how do we tell them now that they got their shop?
How do we tell them now?
Yeah.
It goes out in an email if you got your shop.
Okay. So then if you don't receive an email,
yeah, you get called to them.
You get called, but then they already, so like.
They're already calling
first. Right, so they're like, I haven't received an email,
Right.
so now.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
If I may, I 100% agree with the, maybe looking at the academic scores on their placement not being as important. I am going to ask, how much do the vocational teachers have to weigh in on that, recognizing the talent that.
I think this year they had a lot.
Definitely, I think more should be put on that than anything else. You know, 'cause they're the ones that recognize the talent, the skills of these kids.
That's correct. And we worked with a lot of the vocational teachers, with Jared Lucier, our vocational supervisor. Heather was part of our vocational rubric task force, if you will, working group that really worked on the rubric, and we added 2 additional scores in the vocational, aptitude and interest.
Yeah, right.
So the voice of the vocational teacher matters a lot. And one of the things I think gets lost is the effort and conduct of a student in all of their vocational programs weighs into their exploratory grade. So we saw a few incidences where students were like, I really want carpentry and plumbing or electrical, and they were great. And then they would go to natural and life sciences and put their head down on their desk and not participate. Well, they got a poor grade. I'm just
Right.
theoretically.
Correct.
And so they got a poor grade. Well, that weighs into your overall score. So engagement and safety and those things count across the board. So grades, when it comes to our EL students, seem to be a deciding factor. I'm not sure that they are for the general population of students. But it's, again, that's something we're going to look at and come back to you with.
But, I mean, and then, you know, do we look at in the admissions policy of accepting by clusters? Like, if these kids are interested in mechanicals,
Right.
Don't put them in the health services. You know, don't have them go through those shops. They're not going to want to be there.
Yeah.
Why send a ninth grader through a shop that he has no interest in
But they go through
whatsoever?
every shop, correct?
Right
They do
now,
not have to go through every
well,
shop.
no, yeah, it's 18 or
No, there's no specific number, it's 15, right?
15.
They go through 15
But we have to
shops.
provide so many hours of exploratory, it's
Right.
not, they don't have to go through every
So I
shop.
mean, we could take that bad grade right out of the question by not putting them somewhere they have zero interest in being.
Yeah. But they might also not be interested in physics, and we need them to like pay attention and.
Well, that's shocking.
So I think it's part of a bigger conversation. We certainly want our academic teachers to feel like they have, that academics matter and that students recognize that they matter, you know, and that it does impact where you're gonna end up, but is it the right weight? Are we giving it the right weight? Right. So anyway, overall, much better results. For first, second, and third picks, and really no change in the number of students who did not get their top 5, but who those students were changed for the better.
So are those students now placed on a wait list if something opens up in at least like
They
their
are.
third pick shop or something?
They went through a mini exploratory. Have they completed their mini exploratory,
They did.
Carrie? They did. And then of the shops that had some spaces left, and they're all placed.
Did you have any go back to the assembly districts that said, I don't want to do any of those and I'm not interested?
I can't answer that.
I haven't.
have to ask
I don't
Lois
think
about
so.
that.
Okay. Just out of curiosity.
Permission to speak, I'm sorry.
I know, I'm just like, hey,
Go ahead, Jared.
Karen Lucio, can you just summarize? You're gonna be like granting permission, but I make sure I.
Yeah, go
You'd be
for
the
it.
expert on it. That's why I
Rules
wouldn't-
of order. Permission to speak, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So I would have to ask our guidance director, Lois Miller. To opt out.
Thank you. On Title IX update and policy revision.
Okay. So,
Not a revision, it's a reversal.
Reversal.
all right, so August 1st of 2024, new Title IX went into place, and all the new revisions. We designated 2 Title IX coordinators, we sent them hours and hours of training. I remember at the time telling them, don't get used to this. I have a bad feeling that we're gonna see this go bye-bye. And so, as you know, on Thursday, I believe, a federal court judge threw Title IX in its entirety out and said that we had to revert to the Title IX regulations that were in effect on July 31st, 2024. And so we are asking you, I mean, we don't really have a choice, but we're asking you to approve the first reading of revisions to Title IX, which you had already approved. Back
was in
during,
policy.
yeah, exactly. It was already in policy based on the recent court rulings, and waive the second reading so that we are in compliance with Title IX. And I do want to just mention that the issue that the federal court had was protections related to LGBTQ students, and those students are protected under state law in Massachusetts. So for us, nothing changed in terms of how we're going to treat kids and protect folks from discrimination, but the federal Title IX piece of it changed back. It is a much more, the July 2024 Title IX is a much, much more cumbersome process than the updated version, and it requires a segregation of duties between the coordinator, the investigator, the decision maker, it's a lot. So I will be coming back to you in February just to be very clear about who's performing all of those duties. Okay?
Any questions for Holly? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
You want to do?
Move to approve the first reading of the revisions of the Title IX policies based on the recent court rulings and to waive the second reading as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, let's bring it to a vote.
Roll call vote. Barbara?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jerson?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes, it's unanimous, thank you. So moving on to the reports, just in the interest of time, I'll be very brief. So for our hold that we have for subcommittee meetings this month for the fourth Tuesday, I'd like to do people and culture and policy. And I was just thinking, in the interest of Jen, you having small kids, would you prefer to have it as the people and culture as the second meeting or the first meeting? It doesn't matter. Okay, so we'll get that ready to go.
Thank you though for.
Yeah, for that. If anybody is in need of a February subcommittee meeting, I try to be ahead of it. Just reach out to me. We have to be mindful that the fourth Tuesday of February will probably be the budget meeting. Is that
It will
still?
be,
Yeah.
yes.
So mark your calendars for that.
I would like to reserve a time for personnel
I was
subcommittee
gonna say,
meeting.
do we have a meeting scheduled yet?
So we need personnel, we have athletics that's in the process of being scheduled. So what we can do is we could do personnel before the February school committee meeting, or do you need it sooner than that?
We could do it before the first February.
Yes, the first February.
And that's just so if we have new positions in the budget, we would need
Yep.
to make sure that
Okay.
we're updating.
Sounds good.
Did we talk about a time?
5.
I don't remember. You
So-
said 5-ish?
Yeah.
A 5.
We could do 5-ish, 6-ish.
Yeah.
I'll ask Deb to coordinate.
What time do you want to do it? If we have a
I
meeting
can't
at
answer the
6.
question now, that's why I paused.
Ah.
So I'm gonna put it in as 5,
Okay.
and if that changes tomorrow when I look at something,
So
I'll
5.
wait for Deb anyway. So
Yeah,
it should
so
coordinate.
it's gonna be 5 for personnel or 5 for people and
Oh, I put down 5 for people and culture and 6
6
for.
for.
If that's some reason. Oh, no.
Oh, no. But I thought personnel was going to be in February.
So personnel in February will
No,
be
policy.
5 because it's gonna be
Right.
before the school
Yes.
committee meeting at
Policy,
6.
I'm sorry.
Yep,
So
You're
I'm doing
talking-
policy at 6.
yes.
Yeah, you're talking about the
On the
the
28th.
You're talking about, yeah,
January 28th.
yes.
So 5 o'clock for people in subculture that day.
Okay, people at 5, policy at 6.
6, right, and then.
But they're two different dates, right?
No,
No,
same
both
day,
are the
back to back.
People in policy are same date,
People in culture and
personnel
policy.
is the
Oh.
meeting date.
Yeah,
Thank
personnel
you.
is the meeting date for the next school committee meeting at 5 PM.
Now that we're
Do
all
we
totally
have-
confused.
Do we have money for salads or something? I don't know.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. They've always been good at feeding us and taking
I'm
care of
just
us,
saying.
so.
Yeah, anytime we're gonna be here over dinner time, we'll
Yeah.
try.
Thank you.
Okay, and that concludes my report.
Okay.
Next up is the legislative liaison report. Barbara, do you have anything to report?
I do.
Okay.
As we begin 2025, we are faced with many challenges and opportunities. Schools will be impacted by many legislative changes, like we just talked about in Title IX, and how we navigate these changes will be important for a school around the Commonwealth. Well, I just want to talk briefly about, everyone knows about the MCAS and the fact that it was voted yes, which seems to have had quite a firestorm of people weighing in on this. DESE, MASC, local districts, and others have expressed views, had discussions, sometimes heated, as how to determine competency, because they were throwing it back to the districts to make decisions about it, and that has been quite a concern. There was a very interesting article in yesterday's Boston Globe section that weighed in on the MCAS and how the state, their opinion is, and some others, that there needs to be a new graduation standard. The state can lead once again. We were the leader when we had the MCAS by creating an improved and more holistic graduation standard, which requires the perspectives of educators, higher education officials, employees, workforce training experts, and others And these are people who really understand the demands of college and the workforce and can help identify skills that students need to thrive and fully participate in our democracy. Well, that applies to us. We're training people to go out and work, and they need to have the skills that are required with a certain standard. So we'll have to keep tuned and see what happens with that. One of the other things is bus cams. Governor Healy signed the bill to allow school bus traffic cameras. This change will allow monitoring cameras to be installed if a school committee so chooses. It's a measure to protect students who are boarding and leaving the bus. I don't know, do we have anything on that? Holly? Do we have any concern about having a camera on buses?
I have lots of concerns.
I'm just curious.
Drivers into pseudo traffic enforcers.
And charging people who don't obey the law?
Yeah, it's at the will of the school committee.
Curious about that.
I feel very strongly that turning citizens into pseudo police officers is.
I know, it's an interesting concept that they're introducing. I'm just bringing it up because it's something that changed. Also, in advocacy, and this is for all of us, MASC Division 8 leadership is asking for our help to advocate for vocational, technical, and agricultural schools because of all the challenges, growing waiting lists, and so forth. So they are asking for us if we would like to send letters to your state representatives and legislators. And if anyone's interested, please email me and I will send you the information with a template letter. I don't know if you noticed, but Senate President Karen Spiker eyes K-12 funding reform. The Senate President called her chamber to closely examine K-12 funding and policy as the Student Opportunity Act enters its final year of scheduled aid increases. She's heard already from many senators from their districts who are having issues with education funding, and she said it's time to look at the formula. There's a change in the Social Security Act, which I think will be positive for us. It's called the passage of the Federal Social Security Fairness Bill, which would honor our public school employees who come from the private sector and create a stronger pool of candidates to fill vacancies in these difficult to fill positions, technology, vocational and skilled vocational and technical education fields. So these are people who fear the loss of their benefits under Social Security, and this would free them up for us to hire. So that's a good thing. I'm going to make this brief, but there's a lot being said about the Department of Education. Just a little history I thought would be interesting. The late Jimmy Carter campaigned for president on a promise of establishing a federal Department of Education that was established in his administration in 1980, and he considered it an achievement of a high point in his career. The other interesting thing is that Carter, like us, served as a local school board member and became a state legislator interested always in school reform. So now we have the Department of Education and began operating in 1980 when he signed the Department of Education Organization Act. And we all know that earlier you had the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, which was split into the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services. It's a cabinet-level position administered by the Secretary of Education. It has the smallest staff of all the cabinet agencies and a small budget. But even so, it does a lot of good works, which really supports grades K through 12 through programs supporting economically and disadvantaged school systems. Title I provides funding for children from lower income families. The Education Department is the federal agency that establishes policy for federal assistance to education, administers federal student programs, and collects data. In addition, Pell Grants, Federal Student Loans, Individuals with Disabilities Act, discretionary grants, formula grants, and public school funding. So even though they have a small budget and a small staff, I think they do an important job. So I just wanted to highlight that since it's been in the news.
Thank you, Barbara. Actually, I have two questions. Barbara, did you see anything in the news about how Governor Healy signed, allocated some money towards early college high school? And I was just curious if, okay, how that might affect us.
I was going to mention that in my report.
I've been looking at that, but I haven't seen it. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, Holly's going to talk about it.
Talk about that. Where was it publicized?
It was published, I saw it through the Commissioner's Weekly Update, and also, I think I saw it through the MASC Daily Ed also. But we had applied this year for early college high school designation. When you have early college high school designation, then there's funding that comes along with that to support sending students on an associate degree track through the community colleges. One of the things, and this will be part of our budget conversation, and I've talked to our administration, I've talked to our early college high school coordinator, is we had $500,000 of our budget this year dedicated to sending students to Massasoit, including 90 students who are pursuing an associate's degree, about half in the senior class, about half in the junior class. It is very hard for us, I think, as a taxpayer-funded public school to continue to invest that kind of money when community college is free to all and when they graduate. And so we had applied for early college high school designation in hopes that we could continue the program with a funding stream. And we were told that we were not awarded that designation. The Director of Guidance, our early college high school coordinator currently, and Noah Simonkiewicz, who was our early college high school coordinator and helped us very much with our application, are meeting with DESE on February the 5th to understand why they did not approve our application, because we have one of the most robust early college high school programs in the state. So that is a source of further conversation that we will talk about in the budget process. But again, it's, we've talked about, living up to our obligation to juniors who've already started the process and making sure that we can fulfill our obligation to them next year. But going forward, I'm not sure that that's something that we can or should support when, if you are at our Future of the District meeting, you see how many competing priorities that we have. So we were very disappointed by that, because they did just release, I can't remember what it was, like $55 million in grants or something for schools around the state, including our partners at Brockton High School, but we were not awarded the designation. So
that is very disappointing for us, especially. I know you brought that up quite a while ago, and we were very hopeful about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, but you think we have a chance to maybe turn that around?
I doubt that we have a chance to turn it around, but we do want to speak to DESE to see if we can understand why the application wasn't approved. I know that it was previously not approved because we offer some of our dual enrollment programs after the school day. And so,
Do we know if it was offered to any other vocational school?
I looked at the list briefly, but right off the top of my head, I can't remember, and I don't want to comment.
I wondered if we were being punished.
Yeah.
I thought about these things.
I was going to say it out loud, but it's a recorded meeting, so.
From me.
Again, we had applied like pre-pandemic, and we had been denied because, the way a vocational school schedule works and everything, we had to offer dual enrollment, which are the prerequisites for early college high school outside of the school day, and they had denied our application because of that, and it could still be the same thing. So I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but it will help us to understand what that looks like. And if it's not early college, high school, then what, I think there are opportunities for us to look at things like our articulation agreements that we're not, haven't pursued at the same rate that we could, and other things that continue to support students and their pathways to college education that may just look a little bit differently. So.
And it is free when they graduate right now, so yeah, just a 2-year delay.
It is. I mean, there are real values to having them do it while they're here because they have a lot of support and they persist through the program at higher rates than say if they enrolled at 18 and were on their own. But when you're looking at all the different things that we need to prioritize and fund, it's challenging to say we're going to continue to do that at that level when there's so much funding available to them at 18.
And then we also don't know whether or not that's going to sustain itself, whether or not we're going to have free community college for the next while. So that's challenging also. So that was my first question. My second question, and everybody's talking about graduation, competency determination, and we have a class of 2025 and it's January.
Me too.
So so I was just wondering kind of what can we expect as a school committee, knowing that these things are looming and we would love our graduates, our upcoming graduates to kind of know.
Exactly, yeah. I was wondering myself.
So we'll be coming to you with a more detailed recommendation for a competency determination in February. And what we've been advised by sort of the Mass Association of School Superintendents and informally from DESE is come up with a plan for this year, for the graduates for this year, and then start thinking about your competency determination sort of overall. At this point, we have 4 students who have not met the competency determination. And the competency determination, as stated in the law, has to be that they show mastery, not proficiency, mastery in the subjects that were tested by MCAS in 2023. And so it's math, English language arts, physics, bio, or chemistry. And so we're just looking at how do we make that determination. By the way, that's a heightened standard because it used to be partially meeting or exceeding expectations, and now it is mastery, which is a very different competency. And I don't know if that was a mistake in writing the law, if that was a writing error, or if it was intentional to, that we're talking about mastery and not proficiency, which are 2 different things. So anyway, more to come, but we will have a recommendation for the class of 2025 in February. And then we'll need to look more deeply at that.
All right. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Barbara. Any questions for either? Okay. All right. Moving on to other reports.
Great. I think I've talked enough. But I do just want to give you an update that, I am serving on the screening committee for the incoming Commissioner of Education. We had our first meeting this week just to sort of review generally a list of names. What I would encourage you to do is that application is still open. I did not see, based on the list that I saw, which is confidential, anyone with a strong history of career technical education. Now, we were given very limited information, so it could be that just wasn't available to me, and there were many candidates from many locations around the country. So it's very possible that within that list that exists, but if you know within your own network someone that you would like to move forward, or to even just reach out and have a conversation about what the job looks like, I would ask you to do that, because it would be difficult to have a commissioner who doesn't appreciate the broad spectrum of K-12 education in Massachusetts. So I will leave it at that.
Thanks. We're glad you're on that committee.
Well, I'm on the committee, and so is Kevin McCaskill, the principal at Brockton. So
Kevin's on that committee.
How big is that committee?
It's 20-ish.
Wow.
Yeah, 20-ish.
Okay. Moving on, report of the superintendent. Do you have anything to add?
She's giving her
Like I said,
report.
I talked.
Okay, well, just giving you another opportunity.
I could talk all night, but I think people want to go home. And welcome, Principal Gordon.
Yes, and just in time, principal's report.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I came right from the National Honor Society, which is in my report. 82 students, that's wonderful.
Nice.
It was a very big group. So just some very brief updates. So our application total is 1,322 as of last week. We have.
I gave a report on placement.
You did, okay, great. So that's perfect. So 237 are actually are in co-op, and like I said, we have 82 students. We have our first career fair. That's really nice. I think we included some of the. If you have if you scroll down, you can see some of the employers that are coming, which is great. If you look at some of the companies, we wanted to make sure that we were celebrating some of the companies that'll be joining us because they really support us and our students, whether through co-op and now through the career fair. So it'll be really nice to have them here. And you are welcome to join us or take a walk through. It's on Tuesday, January 21st. And so the guidance department, Lois Miller, has done a great job, work with Jared and Mary to collect the partners and also Jen Hall. So they all worked together really well to put this together. So it's wonderful.
Christina, what time is that? Because we're doing budget meetings that day too, but if they come for a budget meeting, maybe they can sneak over and see that as well.
What time does it start? Is it 9?
It's 8:30 to 11:30.
8:30 to 11:30.
Do I still have permission to speak?
Let me think about that.
I thought you had to ask permission.
No, he's right. He's right.
Hey, who's making that call?
No, he's right. That's Robert's rules.
I'm joking.
We're a free-speaking bunch.
Yes.
And most certainly are.
And then we're continuing to do visits again to make sure that we're exploring both the academic and vocational side. So next we did talk to the automotive teachers, and we are going to explore the automotive industry. So they have some really nice partners that they would like us to go out into industry and meet. So we're excited about that. So that's our sort of next exploration. We were supposed to have a visit this week, but that got postponed. And then we're hosting a luncheon and a tour of the Metro South leadership team on January 29th. They're very excited. They came last year. They were very impressed with our school, the ability to see our students. They loved having our students have a meal with our students and then see our building and all the great things that we're doing. We have strategic planning meetings that are ongoing to support the development of our goals. And it's been really nice to have students and staff and parents in those meetings, and then we come back and have a meeting with our leadership team, and so it's a real shared responsibility in defining those goals, and so everyone's voice is heard in that, which is really nice. So that's been wonderful. I also had, I think it's on here, but my school council met last night, and we had a great discussion about policies going into next year about the use of cell phones and what that will look like, and how we're even going to, what the thought process is behind it, how we're going to talk about that. And none of this is meant to be punitive or to have control over the students, or it's really to say we just want to get back to teaching and learning. We want students to get back to being able to be a student, enjoy themselves in the cafeteria, enjoy the interactions with one another, and give them permission. And I think sometimes you need to give them permission to put their phone away and just be present. And so that it really is our messaging, is that we just want them to get back to being present in the present moment and enjoying their peers, absorbing what they're learning in class without the distraction. They do have technology with their Chromebooks, but other than that, we want them to, again, just sort of get back to being a kid. And the parents were wonderful and really receptive. I explained that the majority of the support is really going to need to come from them, right? Is that they're going to have those conversations at home and support us in that of, you know, just a reminder, please leave it in your bag, you know, because if we start getting into a situation where we're having to, you know, man that all the time, it just takes away and defeats the purpose. Teachers want to be able to engage with their students and have great conversation. I want to be able to say good morning to students, and not just be in a policing something like that. I want to just have forums with parents explaining why we're doing it, let them, you know, engage with us, make sure that we're not thinking of things that they're thinking of, answer their questions, what happens in an emergency. Again, let them bring up things that we're not considering, we're not thinking about, so that we do consider those things, we do think about those things. So we're really going to take a very proactive approach, but again, there's nothing here that's meant to be punitive, to take away. It's to give back to the school and to the students, and that's you'll see that to come. So, but the meeting was wonderful, and the parents were great, and they were very thankful to us for taking that step forward, because that's really helpful for them. You know, if you think about their child was home and uses technology most of the night, and so we're giving them that break during the day, that at least they know that there's a period of time where they're off of technology too, and I felt like the parents were wonderful. Let's see. So I've been having meetings with teachers, teachers with their supervisors, vocational supervisors and teachers, and academic teachers, and we've almost gotten through all of those departments, and we've had really great meetings around some of the sample questions I included in there of just some of the strengths and understanding what our strengths are as a district, understanding what some of our obstacles are, what are teachers seeing, what are they facing. And cell phones did come up as one of the number one things of a distraction and things like that from class. But I really want to know and hear from teachers and have administrators be able to hear from teachers, how can we support you? What gets in the way of teaching and learning? What happens for you? What does that look like? What do you think our biggest obstacles are? What do you think our biggest problems are with our students? Because the data tells us one thing, but the voices of our faculty, you know, can tell us a very different story, and they can explain it. You know, one of the things that was really surprising to me in a very positive way is teachers felt like, I would like to have more rigor in my class than I feel like I'm able to have right now. And it sometimes is because of, you know, everything that's been going on with students, and just the effects of where their social skills are and those things and what they've learned. I mean, the teachers in this building have offered to go and meet with the middle schools or have them over for lunch so they can see what their curriculum is, make sure we're not repeating material. So everyone is fully engaged in wanting to make sure that students are learning and progressing. And it was just a really nice conversation to have, and I think everyone was appreciative. Certainly I was, to hear from them. And it's, you know, I'd like those things to be ongoing so that, again, we have a shared responsibility in what are our needs, where do we want to see ourselves, you know, go and grow. And then what professional development opportunities are of interest to people? What would they like to see us do? What do they want to spend time on? And they really want opportunities to spend time with each other, just talking about some of the issues and concerns and things that they're having, some of the best practices that are happening within our own classrooms and with each other. And so some of the vocational teachers take part in professional development, some of which doesn't have a lot to do with them. So can they be out in industry and getting inspired and learning some things and learning what's going on in industry? Can they go visit vocational schools that might, you know, have a more advanced program or new equipment? What are those things that everyone needs to learn professionally so that they're bringing that back to our students and then they're feeling inspired? So what does that look like? And so can we sort of rethink about that for next year, that we're not painting everyone with the same brush of having one presenter talking to everyone, and what do different groups and teams need, what do different vocational programs need to succeed and to be successful and to move forward in their own professional growth. So we're having those conversations. It's really been great, I feel, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the staff of being able to have that voice. So it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Any questions for Christina? Thank you so much. Of course, we're gonna go back.
Sorry. I had two things I wanted to mention in my report. The first was to put on your radar, April the 29th at Bryant University, we will be unveiling the Project Playhouse. So I don't know if you remember last year, our students, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, built an amazing playhouse for a little girl who had been battling childhood cancer. And we are participating in that again this year. And so I want to put that date on your radar because if you could be there to see not only the amazing work of our students, but to
What's
see
the week of that?
It is a Tuesday. I believe it's a Tuesday. I don't know what time. Last year was in the morning, I believe.
It was.
Yeah, like mid-morning. And as soon as I have more firm information, but I would love for you to be able to see that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just to acknowledge that, without going into detail, that we are in negotiations with our federation. I want to thank Heather Stoddard, who is the chair of the negotiation subcommittee and comes to every school committee meeting and has since I've been superintendent. So this is 3 years we're going on now. And I want to just assure folks that we are engaged in very respectful, collaborative conversations, and committed to working with each other to get to a good place. And I think, you see so much of the other things that are happening out there. Obviously we're not there yet.
We'll be done on Thursday.
We're not there yet. But I want to just acknowledge the Federation. I want to acknowledge the negotiation subcommittee for really bringing an attitude of collaboration and respect to this process. And I think it's a testament to the chair of negotiations, to the members Andy and Robin, as well as the negotiations team on the Federation, that we're able to have a collaborative conversation and try and get to a good deal. So
Just want to echo that, but also say too, I just appreciate everybody's time invested in these negotiations. We have 3-hour sessions. They're sometimes late, where we have teachers teaching during the school day and then going home and then coming back for 3 hours, and they can be exhausting at times. And there's a lot involved with it, but we just keep coming back, and we're still working at it hard. And I just appreciate everybody's time and commitment to this process, because it's not always an easy process, but we're committed to making it work. So thank you to everybody for that. Okay. Hey, Pat.
Hi. So a couple of things. Last Wednesday night, we had our winter graduation ceremony. And remember, a couple of years ago, we started to do one in the winter to catch the students who were graduating, who were finished in January, because they were not coming to the June graduation. So I think it's been very successful, and we had 66 students who were eligible for graduation, but about 60 were actually there and participated. Bob and Scott set out 400 seats, and we still had to open up 4 sections of the bleachers. So there was just a lot of people there, and it was very nice. It was great to see them, and I think a lot of times, while the students sometimes are like, oh, I'm not coming, but they like being there, and I think it's good. So some of the school committee was there. Superintendent McLennan was there, made a nice speech. Bill Pellegrino, who is the president of the union, was there to give out the Federation scholarships. Heather's usually there, but she wasn't feeling well. But I appreciate all of that support from the district as well. This year, our class speaker was from the electrical program. His name was Gustavo Gonzalez, and he did a really nice job representing everybody. And then at the end, he was given the foundation scholarship, which is the foundation supports the TI students as well. And he was sort of picked independently by members of the foundation. Nobody really knew he was the speaker, so it worked out very well. We also, our guest speaker was Paul Landerholm, who is he's the apprenticeship director for Local 7 Workers Union, who's always been very supportive of the TI welding program as well as the high school program. He's a graduate of the high school metal fabrication and joining program, and he's been with the iron workers since he graduated from high school. So he's always very supportive and very helpful. So I think in general it was just a really nice. He's a good example of people of alumni giving back to the Southeastern community, whether it's high school or the TI. We have 5 new students in machine tool. So the machine tool students are in the day with the high school students, but they're TI students. And so this is an all-time high of 5 students. And they're young. I think they all just graduated from high school in June. And they're in there with John Medeiros, who does a fantastic job with them. And it's a bit of an adjustment, and just about the time they're settling in the freshmen, off of exploratory, we send in a bunch of adult students. But I walked by the other day on my way back from the district, and just to see how they were and say hello. And John was explaining something over a machine, and the 5 of them were around him like, well, they're not little, they're giant, some of them, but giant ducks, like hanging over him, looking to and they were like jostling for positions to see what he was handling, what he was showing them. And it's really good to see that all of our teachers engage with the TI students, and I really love when we're able to do that. Our dental assisting program does a radiology program, a radiology project, kind of in this time of year in the winter. And they all year have been learning how to expose and critique and process digital radiographs. And they do it mostly on mannequins, but this time of year they start to do them on live patients. So each student has to do them on 2 live patients, and we offer that to the community free of charge. So if we've sent out several emails about it, and it's been on social media, and there's a little form to be filled out, but it's a great collaboration because they do it between their dental radiology class and their dental office management class. So the students schedule patients, they collect the forms, they check the forms, they greet the patient, they do the radiograph, they critique the radiograph, and then they send it off to their dentist with a letter explaining the process and all of that. So we are still looking for patients. So you have to be over 18, and you have to have a dentist who will sign off that it's okay to do it, but it's free, and radiographs are expensive. It's a full mouth series, so that can be especially if you don't have dental insurance, it can be a very nice thing. And then finally, the last thing is that, I think one of the things I've been working a lot on this year is that TI students a lot of times have some of the same and other different types of stressors and issues that the high school students do. And this year we have students who are struggling with homelessness and food insecurities, and sometimes there's immigration issues, and there's a lot of different things going on. Well, what can we do about it? We're kind of limited to financial aid. We don't have like adjustment counselors, though the high school is very great with sharing them with us. But so one small thing is we've set up a student resource board. We took one of our big boards and rebranded it that says student resources. And we're in the process of just collecting information from the mayor's office or from different food banks in the area, and with the idea that we'll post flyers and students will be able to pick up the flyers, or if I live in Mansfield, what food pantry can I go to? How do I get SNAP benefits? Who's going to help me with immigration questions and those types of things? And it'll have information about employment or jobs, or like the job fair. It's a great place to post stuff about that, and people who have like housing issues or anything. So anything that we come across that we want to share with students, we're going to try and have that one central place. Not every student comes through the TI corridor, so it'll also be on our website, and we'll be sharing it through Populi and stuff. So just a clearinghouse of information is all, but hopefully help with some of the stressors that they're facing while they're also trying to come to school 20 or 30 hours a week. And that's it. Thanks. Thank you.
Pat, did you want to just talk about the COE letter? Just
I do want to talk about this.
Well, I just don't. It's not as terrible as it looks.
No, it's not. So We do an annual report every March, and if a program does not meet 3 different benchmarks, then we're non-compliant and they will put us on a warning. And they are completion, placement, and licensure. And so we have, in our last March report, we had 2 programs that were placed for completion. Not completion, they were placement, I believe, so people not getting jobs. They are the CTI programs that we have, welding and culinary arts. So this data that we're being, that the warning is for now is actually from 21, right? That was the annual report that we submitted it in 23, and it was for January to December of 2021. So this was old data. It was the first round that we really participated in for the CTI grants. And remember, they are people who are unemployed or underemployed, and they have experienced some barriers to employment in the past, and that's how they qualify for these programs. And so their placement was not as strong as COE would like it to be, or that we would like it to be, in fact. So we're put on warning for that. Since then, we've made some changes to the programs. We involve them more with mass hire to help with placement. We make sure in the enrollment process that they understand that getting a job is an expectation for the program and that people will be checking on them later on. But so we've been doing our part as far as that goes. But on the flip side of it, Holly and I have had conversations with Dr. Nooks, who's the chairperson?
He's the president,
Executive
CEO.
President of COE, our institutional accrediting agency, talking with them about how these students are not part of our regular admissions process. They are coming at us a different way, right? They are supplied to us through mass hire and through this grant. And so they already have these existing barriers, and they're not meeting any of our standards to be enrolled in the program because it's entirely grant funded. And so we're providing the training to them and giving them the skills that they need, but so much of that is beyond our control. And also, this grant funding, this is about $8,000 of training for each student, and it's entirely free to the student. So we're not charging them tuition. We're not, there's no expectation for them. As a matter of fact, they get paid an attendance stipend, and the last group that just went through, because there was some extra money, we're getting an additional $5,000 to participate in the program. And so with all that said, we're not, part of what COE wants to know is that people are getting value out of our training, right? We should not be running a program if a student is taking loans and Pell grants and then not getting the benefit of it where they can be employed. This is a different situation. And so we would not risk our institutional accreditation with programs like this that are being put on warning, because eventually, there's a process, but there's serious ramifications for being on warning. And so we would end up probably not running the CEI grants, and we don't want to do that because there are benefits and they are getting jobs out of them, and we're really starting to see improvements in the grant. So what we are anticipating is that COE is changing their standards and allowing us to run programs like this where the students come to us under different parameters. We think that they took a vote on that a month or 2 ago.
In November.
And I have a phone call set up with them tomorrow to find out exactly if that happened. And so, and that's the case, then I kind of had thought it would just have gone away after the vote anyway, but this letter popped up that it hadn't. So we'll follow up and we'll see, and then we'll deal with whatever they say. Did I cover all of it?
Perfect.
Yeah. I think I was just blocking the fact that the letter was in there. I'd already pulled it up on the screen. I should probably comment on that.
Any questions for Pat?
Any questions about that?
All right, well, thank you so much. And, yes, we do have
Wrap up the show.
Try to be quick, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, let's go home. Right? So I'll cover briefly over 3 areas that I help support. First, the clubs, athletics clubs and activities. The winter season is underway, and fantastic things are happening with our student athletes, and our clubs are doing a great job with a lot of the different events and things that they've been preparing to promote consistency and sustainability across these extracurricular offerings. Right now, I'm in the process and working with others to develop our clubs and activities guidebook. This guide will establish clear bylaws and procedures for all clubs, ensuring long-term viability and providing a pathway for new clubs to be formed in the future. On the DEI end here, our district on December 13th, I had submitted our teacher diversification grant through the state, and our district continues to participate in the teacher diversification professional learning communities initiative, which began in early September. This DESE-supported program focuses on developing, sustaining diverse and culturally responsive workforce. We also are working closely with William James College as part of the teacher diversification strategy, coaching sessions, which is being scheduled soon, and we will have monthly meetings to assist in achieving our diversification goals if the grant is awarded to us, which we will find out in February. And that service through William James College is through the state, and so there's no cost to us. Our SEAT and ERG group updates, our Southeastern Equity Advancement Team, student group, employee resource group will be meeting January 28th to kick off the second semester. And again, both are very key components in us moving a lot of our work forward in developing an inclusive school environment. On the HR side, we did speak a little bit about the principal search. We do have recent hires for this the past month. We've hired 1 substitute teacher to add to our pool. We've hired a long-term substitute as well, 1 part-time STI nursing instructor, and 1 full-time STI full-time, and 1 part-time and 1 full-time STI nursing instructors. Our outstanding community member awards for December. Again, we received 42 nominations from our community, recognizing 35 individuals within our building who have made significant contributions to our school community, which responses have gone out to them, congratulating them for being nominated and sharing with the night what great things people had said about them and their work. The team had selected 4 individuals to be honored for this past month of December. First is our staff member, Dave Coops, who is in shipping and mailing receiver. Vocational teacher, Angela Bass, is our engineering teacher. Academic teacher, Kay Manigan, which is our academic instructor, and also is our assistant in athletics. And STI member, Darlene DeBona, who's an evening practical nurse instructor. And finally, we have our HR generalist search, which was initiated for our HR position. Applications are currently being reviewed, and we plan to begin the first round of preliminary interviews next week, and we anticipate the filling this position in early February. As you know, next Friday will be Melissa Woods on the 21st final day. I would like to recognize her for her hard work, dedication to the Southeastern district. A lot of my vision and me knowing her, she's helped push a lot of those things forward, which we've been a really good team, so she will be missed here, as she's been very intricate to a lot of things that we've done and pushing our vision forward. So thank you. Time to go home.
Any questions for Rob?
Any questions?
Oh, no, Rob, no.
If you have questions, we can answer.
No executive session?
Oh, yeah, we need to go into, no, we don't.
Oh, that was bad.
No executive session this evening, and thank you everyone for your attention, I appreciate it.
All right, well, I do need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, can I get a second? For the discussion, well, let's vote.
Roll call.
I didn't hear who was the second.
Kelsey?
Barbara.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Kirsten.
Yes.
Yes. Robin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good night, Robin, thank you. Good night, Barbara, thank you.
Good night, Barbara.
Bye, good night.